Fox News alert, FBI agents are executing a search warrant at the Fulton County election office in Georgia. Remember, that was ground zero for complaints about voter fraud in 2020. David Spunt has the details. David.
Jesse, FBI agents spent the afternoon inside the records warehouse for the Fulton County, Georgia Board of Elections. The matter is sealed before a court, meaning details are limited, but we can report this is related to the 2020 presidential election. Sources tell Fox News that agents retrieved documents, phones, and computers after a judge signed a warrant. President Trump has long made Georgia and specifically Fulton County a target of his complaints relating to the 2020 election. Shortly after that election, then President Trump spoke to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger and said he needed to find 11,780 votes to win the state. At the time, Raffensperger said he felt pressure from Trump and denied any widespread election fraud. Raffensperger still denies so to this day. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis brought state criminal charges against then former President Trump and others in 2023 for conspiracy to overturn the election. But her prosecution was eventually derailed completely after it was revealed she had an intimate relationship with the top prosecutor on her team. Now, back in December, the Justice Department sued Fulton County, Georgia, seeking access to 2020 voting records after state officials allegedly failed to respond to a subpoena.
Welcome to my borrowed faculty. You will with my borrowed faculty. So much democracy when you employer me. You want to win your next election. I can help you win your erection. So much democracy.
It's just one of my all-time favorites. It's one of the all-time. I don't care. Maybe we should just have that as the go-to meme anytime we talk about election fraud. And that is what we are going to do today. The entire show is devoted to what we have been speaking about at our own peril. We've been deplatformed. We've been demonetized. We've been ripped offline. We've had to flee Washington, D.C. over all of this. We had to come down to Florida. I brought my family to Florida. The reason we're broadcasting here in Florida is because of this 2020 stolen election. We have never relented on this. We have never backtracked. We have always been there on the ground right after the election. I was there with Charlie Kirk. There was a runoff for the Senate seats. Charlie and I were door knocking together, trying to prevent them from having a trifecta, which was the goal to give unified power to destroy this nation once and for all, prosecute Donald Trump, end the MAGA movement, and thank God they did not succeed. And now we have a incredible moment in Georgia where everything has been reversed, where the truth is coming out, where the FBI has raided the Fulton County election office and is actively collecting all votes, all tabulators, all tape, all hard drives, all of the digital copies, all of the physical copies, all of the algorithms, everything. The warrant that was issued is a criminal warrant, not a search warrant, not a subpoena, a criminal warrant. The judges in this case have determined that crimes occurred in Georgia in 2020. something that you have known and something that I have known and something that we have all known in our guts, in our hearts for years, but they refused to let us look at the ballots. They refused to open up the vault. They refused to allow the public, prosecutors, investigators, anyone to see. And more importantly, they didn't even look. They would arrest you. They would demonetize you, deplatform you, throw you in prison if you questioned it. And that's what they tried to do to Donald Trump. And one of the greatest backfires in world history, in one of the most incredible boomerangs that have ever happened in world history, in one of the greatest triumphs that mankind has ever seen by the grace of God, President Trump survives an assassin's bullet because every assassination, political, electoral, judicial, didn't work, so they tried physical assassination. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we get this. Full FBI raids encompassing absolute and total criminal behavior on behalf of, you'd like to say, the Biden administration. Joe Biden didn't know anything. It was Hillary Clinton. It was Jake Sullivan. It was Barack Obama. It was Eric Holder. It was the manipulators of the deep state. Joe Biden was a muppet. I truly believe that. Just not smart enough. Did not have it. But now we do, ladies and gentlemen. It is a glorious day. We are going to cover all of this. The vindication that is happening right now is at scale. I'm very excited about this. We have one amazing show set up for you today. It is going to be a wild one. Here we go. Today is Thursday, January 28th, 2026. FBI raids Fulton County offices as part of the 2020 election fraud investigation. DOJ announces more Minnesota rioter arrests, and they are hilarious. But we are going to spend the majority of the show talking about what is to come when we learn that the 2020 election was stolen from the American people. That Democrats have currently multiple stolen seats in the Senate, in the House. In fact, we just had a member of Congress on yesterday, I hope we have that clip loaded up, that told us that there are multiple senators that are illegally installed in the U.S. Senate. Senator Tuberville, arguably the greatest senator in the Senate right now. An amazing show for you. David Cate, who is on the ground in Fulton County, will be joining us. Investigative reporter in Georgia. He has breaking news for our program. Ladies and gentlemen, Representative Barry Loudermilk joins the show. But I've been hitting up my producers to bring on more. Kara, I would like, I know that we're trying to get General Flynn, Dan Bongino, Mike Davis, potentially, for the program. We need to effort all of them. I want to go wall to wall on this. There's so many people that are going to be vindicated in this moment, and it is a moment to celebrate. We've just gotten started, but ladies and gentlemen, this is the great revenge that President Trump has been talking about. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Okay, let's rock and roll. I want to begin by bringing you back in time to what happened that night. I want to bring you back to an actual live broadcast of what was going on in Georgia. I want you to see it. I want you to absorb it. I want you to remember how you felt when you watched this happen on live TV.
We've also got some breaking news right now, so we want to check in with CBS's Mark Strassman. He is in Georgia, where they're having a big problem counting some of the votes. Mark?
Nora, this is an election return watch party here on the edge of Atlanta. These are mostly excited Democrats because when's the last time Georgia thought of itself as a battleground state? After a record early returns and essentially a day of problem-free voting, there is now a hitch in the tabulation of votes. I'm standing in Fulton County. Fulton County includes a chunk of Atlanta. Downtown Atlanta is State Farm Arena, where the Atlanta Hawks play. They are tabulating the absentee ballots of Fulton County, Georgia's most populous county. A water pipe has broken inside the arena. They had counted 86,000 absentee ballots. We don't know how many more they have yet to tabulate, but all the tabulation of those ballots has now stopped. We're told by election officials they may not finish tabulating those votes for a day or two. So depending how close the rest of the state is, we may not know the result of this critical battleground state for another day or two. That is because, again, a water pipe has broken in State Farm Arena. State Farm Arena is where they were counting the absentee ballots of Georgia's most populous county, and now that tabulation has stopped. Big development here.
But, Mark, do you know how many ballots we're talking about? What that means?
We don't know. We've asked that question, Gail, and we haven't got an answer for that yet. We know that there were 86,000, but apparently it's a very labor-intensive process, and what they are telling us is that it's going to take a day or two, which suggests to me that they have a lot to go.
Have you ever seen anything like this in your lives? You ever heard them stop counting on election night? I don't care how old you are. You could be a young person. You could be an old person watching this. You ever heard anybody say, we're going to just stop. We're just going to end the count. We're tired. You know these machines that supposedly count these votes like instantly? We're just going to turn them all off. We're going to turn off the machines. And we're going to quit the count because we're tired or because a water pipe burst. You see, a water pipe burst, so everyone has to leave. Everyone has to leave. And then in Georgia, what happened was then caught on video. You can see what happened in Georgia. Klein, I'm going to need you to find that clip of them pulling out the ballots, please. From the, yeah. What happened in Georgia? Nope. Thank you. As soon as they stopped this vote, as soon as they ended the counting on election night, where President Trump and producers, please grab me all those early tallies. I want to grab those tallies. Get me the screenshots. I'm not sure if I sent it in, but give me the screenshots this morning of where they all stopped counting. Get me that. It's like a screenshot of President Trump being up by 10 points in every single state. Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, Carolinas. Donald Trump leading by 5 to 7 points in every single state. And they stopped the count. And then what happened was this, ladies and gentlemen. You remember these clips? If you even played these clips, you were liable to get sued. These are the clips of the Fulton County, Georgia election workers when all of the building was closed down for the water pipe yanking out boxes of ballots and pumping them through the machines. Ballots that were hidden under a table and brought out as soon as they were told, this Klein, thank you. As soon as they were told that they were in the clear. And that's not to mention all, of course, of the ballots or vote changes that happen inside of the tabulator. There it is. Perfect. My screen. Check this out. I mean, I need to just, we're going to talk about what the FBI is doing right now, but we need to set this up. I need to remind you how much you were lied to on this day. How wicked and evil this theft actually was. Joe Biden, Donald Trump. Joe Biden losing to Donald Trump in Pennsylvania. The polls were closed, 64% in. Donald Trump was leading by 20 points nearly in Pennsylvania. In Georgia, Donald Trump was leading by nearly 10 points. Polls were closed, 83% in. Michigan, polls are closed, 60% in. Donald Trump leading by 10 points. Wisconsin, polls are closed, 82% in. Donald Trump leading by 7 points. North Carolina, polls are closed, 94% in. Donald Trump leading by 3 points. Donald Trump would end up just barely winning North Carolina. Michigan, polls are closed, 60% in. Donald Trump leading by 10 points. Then they stopped counting in every state. They stopped counting. Water pipe burst. They made up some excuses. Sometimes they just didn't even try. And what happened when they closed the doors, locked out the public, told the election observers to go home? We have some video of it. Here we go. Here's from Claw. Here's what they did. Let's hear it.
So now there's 8 o'clock in the morning. We're going to roll this back and show it to you. There you go. So now they're going to start pulling these ballots out from under this table. This table, the black one, was placed there by the lady with the blonde braids at about 8:22 a.m. in the morning. So she put that table there. So the same person who's staying behind now, the same person who cleared the place out under the pretense that we're going to stop counting, is the person who put the table there at 8:22 in the morning. Yeah, I saw 4 suitcases come out from underneath the table. Yeah, upper right hand, you see the gentleman in the red. So he just pulled one out.
They brought in boxes of ballots. They hid them. As soon as the water pipe burst and they were able to send everyone away, they dragged them over to the tabulators and started running those ballots through the machines. According to sworn affidavit testimony, those boxes were filled with thousands upon thousands of single marked ballots. One single digital mark. Not a physical one, a digital mark, Joe Biden, and that's it. No votes up ballot, no votes down ballot, nothing else. No one else voted for, just Joe Biden. And then what happened? Well, you can see the final numbers in Georgia for that election, still published here on CNN. Joe Biden beats Donald Trump by 10,000 votes. Would you look at that? 10,000 votes. Let's go ahead and check the Senate runoff. Oh, look, it's the literal exact same margin, the same numbers. They're not even trying to get creative here. It's the same numbers. They steal 2 Senate seats in Georgia. They steal the election. They steal both Senate seats, and we have a U.S. senator on our show yesterday saying they stole the seats. I serve with illegitimate senators. Here is Tommy Tuberville saying exactly that. Here we go. It'd be nice to see Congress do something about it. What do you recommend gets done? I mean, I think that the SAVE Act is a good starting point. Where do you stand on that, Senator? Do we have any hope of getting that passed?
No, we can't get that passed because you even have some Republicans that won't vote for it. We have to get this done. We will not win any more elections in terms of majorities if we don't pass the SAVE Act, because they bring in all these illegals and they're going to try to get as many of them to vote as they can. Then they have all these voting machines that are all crooked, out of Venezuela, by the way. They have a system that they can win elections. We probably have a dozen or so people up here in the House and the Senate that were elected illegally. They shouldn't be here because things were crooked in the elections. Just look at Nevada and Arizona and all these places that it's been proven, but nobody does anything about it. But I'll go back to the money that is being stolen. If you go back to the first 6 months I was here back in 2000, the Democrats had the majority, House, Senate, and the White House, and they did this first, CARES Act. We need money for COVID. $2 trillion. Well, what'd they do with that money? They sent it to all the blue states to pay off their debts because they had stolen so much money they could not function. And we're talking about 40 billion for California, 40 billion for New York. Same thing for Chicago, the cities. I mean, it is a disaster, folks. You are being stolen blind. Open your eyes. Don't listen to these people that want to bring this country to a communist country, because that's where we're headed. If we don't get to the bottom of this nonsense of being able to steal something.
I serve with senators who stole their seats. Who's he talking about? He's talking about Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock. Two senators who stole their seats. Look at this. The exact same margin of victory. It's an algorithm. Do you think that there's any coincidences? Do you think that this Maduro raid really was about narco trafficking? Or is it about wrapping up the guy who was responsible for delivering the tech, the algorithm inside of the electronic voting machines that produces results like this? The exact same results you can see in the Brazilian election, for instance, where the communist, the Soviet, wins against an incredibly popular populist, Jair Bolsonaro. And then in Brazil, they're so crooked, they've been able to actually throw this guy in prison. That's what they tried to do with Trump. This was the play. They were open about it. It's what they pulled in 2020. Georgia is the focus because right here in Fulton County, this is the epicenter of the fraud. You can see here in Fulton County. Look at that. Look at how many votes they were able to pump out for Joe Biden there. 250,000 more votes. Look at that. And Joe Biden wins by 10,000. Remarkable. So now we have a criminal warrant signed. What does it include? All tabulator tapes for every voting machine in Fulton County, including but not limited to zeroed tapes, opening tapes, closing tapes, and other tabulator tapes printed from the voting machines utilized during the 2020 general election in Fulton County. All ballot images produced during the original ballot count, beginning on November 3rd, 2020, the recount and any other ballot images. All voter rolls from the 2020 general election in Fulton County, from absentee, early voting, in person, and other voter rolls that indicate voters to whom the absentee ballot was issued, from whom the absentee ballot was received, and for who participated in advanced voting on election day. This is the mother of all warrants. It is a criminal warrant. They are helpless. The Trump administration did their work here. They got precisely what you would need in order to prove mass fraud. And Democrats are losing their minds. And it's a real important question here. Why? If you've done nothing wrong, why? Why lose your mind? If Trump administration is just going to go through, get all the evidence, and then count it, and it's just going to be the election results. You're just going to be able to get these perfect 49 to 50, 49 to 50, 49 to 50. You're just going to get these perfect algorithmic results. Mathematically impossible, whatever. You're just going to get these results. Then why would you stress out? Jon Ossoff losing his mind here. Jon Ossoff, on FBI raid of Fulton County election office. After losing Georgia in 2020, John L. Trump demanded that state officials find more votes. I suspect today's raid is a continuation of the sore losers crusade. January 6th, Minnesota to Georgia and display the whole world of presidents spiraling. No, dude. Bro, you're spiraling. You're panicking. Why would you be scared of a little old FBI raid if all it's going to show is that you won a fair and square election? No. It's actually the Democrats who are panicking. They have various members of their Fulton County board who are out freaking out in front of the press, screaming, crying, doing press conferences. We have one of them. It's really funny. This commissioner is lost.
Hi, everybody.
Lost her mind. Here we
I know
go.
you're watching the news. You're seeing a lot of stuff about this FBI raid at the Fulton County elections and registrations. I'm on the inside right now. So I just want you to be like real discerning about all that you're hearing from people who are on the outside of what's going on. I'm going to give you the truth about what's happening. So they served a warrant, the FBI, this is Trump, serving a warrant to go pick up the 2020 ballots, which are in a secure location inside of here, 700 boxes. The first warrant that they gave was incorrect legally, like they didn't follow the right procedure. They went back and they fixed it, and they came back, and now they are actually collecting the boxes. They are in the chain of command in Fulton County is that once they are archived, they become the possession of the clerk of Superior Court, which is Shay Alexander. She is here and she is with them inventorying everything that they're taking. We, the commissioners, the chairman, the county attorney, are trying to figure out a legal plan as to maybe an injunction, a motion to quash. We don't know yet. We're trying to figure it out.
Did you hear that? A motion to quash. It's a motion to quash. We're going to quash. Yeah, that's exactly right. What is this outfit that the producers are saying is the Paddington Bear? What do you guys think? What is this outfit exactly? Little toy soldier, little tin soldier, nutcracker. She looks like Al Sharpton. She looks like cross-dressing Al Sharpton. Look at those glasses. She's like a televangelist. Yeah, maybe like take the Elton John glasses off. She does look like, it's very Elton John-y, isn't it? It's very Elton John. Like maybe take, yeah, Paddington Bear. Like, can we get a side-by-side of this? There's a lot going on here. Lady, if you're trying to tell the American people you don't commit fraud, maybe don't look like you run 10 Somali daycares. What? Yeah, that's exactly right. She does. She does literally look this. Toss that up. Here you go. And she says, a motion to quash. Please let Mike Davis come on the program. I want to run this by him. Is it legal? Is it a legal motion to quash? What is a legal motion to quash exactly? They're not sending their best. This is like he uses this is Timu Fannie Willis. Yeah, leader of a marching band. Okay, yeah, good. All right. Timu Fannie Willis. This is what happens. Like, can we, mom, dad, can we get Fannie Willis? We have Fannie Willis at home. This is your Fannie Willis at home. What? All right. Okay. Why are they freaking out? Why are they freaking out? Let's go. Yeah, well, this is okay. Oh, that's so mean to Kellyanne. People are saying Kellyanne Conway. Was this a 2016 inauguration? 2017. All right. Okay. Whatever. Let's go. FBI executes search warrant Fulton County Election Center, seizing contentious 2020 election ballots. Why are you so scared? Why so scared? Why so serious? Why would you be so worried? If this was the fairest election of all time, why are you losing your minds? We have so many of these. Let's read through here. Really good breakdown. For 6 years, the public has not been allowed to inspect 150,000 ballots that 6 sworn affidavits say were counterfeit. A judge ordered these ballots inspected years ago. Fulton County refused. Excerpts from the witnesses and affidavits include Susan Voiles, 20-year election official, saying pristine ballots, different in texture and paper, a different feel, no markings, 98% Joe Biden. Hundreds of ballots with no folds or creases, perfect black bubbles, all for Biden. Another Georgia Democrat, all had perfect black bubbles, all for Biden. I heard Biden 500 times in a row. This is why they were so determined to keep them hidden. We played you the clip of these women bringing the ballots out And guess what happened to those women? They got awards. They got medals at the White House. Joe Biden sniffed their hair and gave them medals along with, look at this, scumbag, hoaxer, January 6th, Michael Fano, dirtbag, dirty cop from J6, the cop who turned off his body cam. What a dark time in American history. What a dark time. On election night, how did you feel? When you watched this happen on election night, what'd you feel like? Can you pop that video back up? When you watched it happen on election night, it might be a play-beside. Did you feel like something was off spiritually? It felt dark. My wife, our house had been lit on fire in a gang war. We talk about it all the time. It's part of the reason why we had to flee DC. But it was dark, man, and we were staying in a rental house because our house obviously had been set ablaze. And my wife was like taking out the trash in like this little rental house that we were in, and she swears she saw a demon, man. That it was election night. We were at the Trump for the election night party. We were at Trump's official election night party. They told everyone to go home. It was so strange. They said, go home. I was like, this is weird, man. Why are we going home? There's all these states that need to be counted. Donald Trump's winning in all these states. But we started seeing reports like this. They told us to go home. My wife swears that she saw a demon. It was dark spiritual energy. And the people who brought us all of this not only got awards, I think they sued Rudy Giuliani, got millions of dollars. Ladies and gentlemen, the truth shall set you free. Adam Schiff losing his mind. Democrats, there are so many videos like this on the internet. It's like it would take us the whole rest of the show to play them all. But let's watch Adam Schiff lose his damn mind, and then we have some on-the-ground reporting from Georgia to bring to you. We're really excited about it. Here we go.
So a quick take on something that just happened today that I think you should know about. So in Georgia, in Fulton County, the FBI executed a search warrant at an election center to get election records from 2020. So you remember that this county was the center of some of the election denial efforts in 2020 when Trump begged, pleaded, tried to coerce Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State in Georgia, to find 11,780 votes that did not exist.
I just want to find 11,780 votes.
Well, he is still trying to prove a non-existent fraud. But more than that, this is part of a pattern.
Why are you freaking out?
Of the federal government under
Why
Trump
are you freaking
trying to
out?
interfere in local conduct of elections. We're seeing it in Georgia. We're seeing it in other places as well, where they're trying to seize voter records. In Minnesota, one of the conditions articulated.
Amazing how they are all going back to Minnesota. They're losing it because they're losing their Minnesota op. The entire country, they've now lost their Minnesota op. The entire country is now going to be focused on Fulton County. And actually, the only reason that all of these files and all this evidence still exists in Fulton County is because they tried to put President Trump in prison in Fulton County. Normally, these records, you'd be able to get rid of these records. You don't have to keep them permanently and forever. But because they tried the lawfare, now it's backfiring on them. 6 years in the making. In a court-approved raid, FBI Director Kash Patel seized the 2020 election ballots from Fulton County, Georgia. The voters in Georgia, after 3 years, we have still not seen any ballots for which there were 6 sworn affidavits claiming they were counterfeit. Not appropriate way to investigate. Secretary of State's office filed an amicus brief to try and prevent us from looking at the ballots. What kind of Secretary of State would do that? A corrupt one, I guess. Tulsi Gabbard is on the ground. Do we have the Tulsi Gabbard clip? Tulsi Gabbard is on the ground in Fulton County. FBI teams are on the ground in Fulton County. Entire truckloads, busloads. Pop it up, show them. Yeah. Look at this. Look at this operation. In a moment, we'll have David Cate joining us, who's been witnessing this firsthand. Look at the size and scale of the operation here. The FBI has a full depot team, multiple evidentiary trucks that have been backed up, and they are seizing this along with Tulsi Gabbard here. Now, what did Tulsi Gabbard tell Donald Trump months ago in the White House? Look at this. This is the only photo we have of Tulsi on the ground. What did Tulsi tell Donald Trump months ago at the White House? Danny, you got to grab that clip, please. That they've found the evidence that they need to prove that 2020 was stolen. We seem to be the only streamer, the only outlet that really picked up on this, because it was in the middle of a cabinet meeting with a lot of people, and it, sort of got brushed over. And it was just kind of like an offhanded remark from Tulsi. But listen to this and then pair it with this photo of Tulsi Gabbard in Fulton County today. Listen to this.
I've got a long list of things that we're investigating. We have the best of the best going after this. Election integrity being one of them. We have evidence of how these electronic voting systems have been vulnerable to hackers for a very long time and vulnerable to exploitation to manipulate the results of the votes being cast, which further drives forward your mandate to bring about paper ballots across the country so that voters can have faith in the integrity of our elections.
Tulsi Gabbard says, we now have the evidence that proves that these ballots and these machines can be manipulated. President Trump, after blackbagging Nicolas Maduro, of course, all of this technology is Venezuelan, has gone out before the public in multiple instances and said, we got him. I just want to play the Davos one. He's done it from the White House press dais a couple times, but this Davos one is remarkable because it just happened less than a week ago. Trump knew this was happening. They knew they got him. Listen to this.
Thousands of miles away, separated by a giant ocean. It's a war that should have never started, and it wouldn't have started if the 2020 U.S. presidential election weren't rigged. It was a rigged election. Everybody now knows that. They found out. People will soon be prosecuted for what they did. It's probably breaking news, but it should be. It was a rigged election. Can't have rigged elections. You need strong borders, strong elections, and ideally a good press. I always say it. Strong borders, strong elections, free, fair elections, and a fair media. The media is terrible. It's very crooked. It's very biased, terrible. But someday it'll straighten out because it's losing all credibility. Think of it. When I win in a landslide, a giant landslide, won all 7 swing states, won the popular vote, won everything, and they only get negative press. That means that it has no credibility. And if they're going to get credibility, they're going to have to be fair. So you need a fair press. But you also need those other elements. And I inherited a terrible, terrible situation. If you look, the border was open. The inflation was raging. Everything was bad with the United States when I came into office. But I also inherited a mess with Ukraine and Russia, something that would have never happened. And I know Putin very well. He and I would discuss Ukraine. It was the apple of his eye, but he wasn't going to do anything. I said, Vladimir, you're not doing it. He would never have done it. It was terrible what happened. I could see it happening, too. After I left, I could see it happening. And ideally, a good press. I always say it. Strong borders, strong elections, free, fair elections, and a fair media. The media is terrible. It's very crooked. It's very biased, terrible. But someday it'll straighten out because it's losing all credibility. Think of it. When I win in a landslide, a giant landslide, won all 7 swing states, won the popular vote, won everything, and they only get negative press.
They stole it, Trump says.
But it should be. It was a rigged election. Can't have rigged elections. You need strong borders, strong elections, and ideally a good press. I always say it. Strong borders. It's a war that should have never started, and it
President Trump, people will soon be prosecuted for what they did. It was a rigged election. People will be prosecuted for what they did. We got him, says President Trump. Is this what's happening right now? Is this what's going on right now in Georgia? Well, a man who was just had his reporting posted by President Trump in Georgia. I think this is one of them. I think there's more, actually. He's a local reporter. His name's David Cate. And President Trump has put up his reporting in Fulton County multiple times. He has been on the ground. I think this is the one. This is the one. Yeah, absolutely. Can you get that? Can we get this? Can we get this clip? Make sure we grab this clip. Everyone, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President, for listening, says David. FBI agents have finished executing their horn at the Fulton County Elections Office and have now officially departed with roughly 700,000 election ballot boxes. 700 2020 election ballot boxes. Sorry about that. I was reading too fast. David has been outside of the election facility on the ground in Georgia. David Cate, independent journalist, joins us live right now to give us an update. Really excited to have him on the program. Let's go. David, hey, welcome to the program, man.
Thank you, Benny, so much. Appreciate it.
An exciting time. Okay, so tell me, what have you been learning? You've been on the ground, and we have some footage here, some of your reporting, but I'd rather just hear it from you in person. It looks like you've gotten some wild footage. Just pop that up, Klein. Like filming actually inside of the election center itself, and the federal agents raiding this election center. What has it been like?
Yeah, well, in 2020, the saying was that the devil came down to Georgia. But I'd honestly say that yesterday, the FBI came down to Georgia. It was a beautiful sight to see. 2020 election is the reason why I even got into politics. Took a big switch in my life because of how, for every common sense individual that saw the 2020 election, you knew something was wrong.
Yes.
But I didn't realize just how bad it was until about a month ago. The only reason I ended up in outside of the Fulton County election office yesterday was because of what we did a month ago. After seeing Nick Shirley's video exposing the fraud in Minnesota, I thought this would be actually some good work that I can do, the actual valuable work for us America First individuals. So I started to look here in my backyard in Georgia, and immediately I ran into voter irregularities. The main one that I saw is me going to an abandoned home that nobody's lived in what seems like a decade, but 19 people were actively on the voter rolls, currently registered to vote from there. And that's how I got connected with a gentleman named Jason Fraser, who's been going around Fulton County and doing this work all across the state of Georgia, actually, since the 2020 election, him and his team. And he took me around Fulton County to empty lots, underpasses, bus stations, homeless shelters that were closed 10 years ago, where over 3,000 people in 3 hours, I saw how people are registered to vote from these various locations. That's just in one single county. So as you see on the screen, that's all the work we did, empty lots, whatever you can think of. And that was just 2 weeks ago when these clips started to go viral. So Jason and his team have been working for what happened last night for years now. And to be on the ground with them outside of Fulton County's elections office and to see the FBI execute not just a regular search warrant, but a criminal search warrant, and taking all the information, having the DNI out there, which is a pretty big symbol to us, was incredible. We saw FBI trucks just come in at first. I wasn't there for that, but I saw that once I got there. But the coolest part was seeing trucks come, big white trucks just come out of nowhere, start to load up into the docking area of the warehouse. And then hours later, we saw FBI agents in there through a small little wall, going through what seemed to be ballot boxes and loading them up onto the truck. And about 11 or 10 p.m. at night after being there for 8-9 hours. They finished their job and then they left.
Wow. No. So they were there for 9 hours sorting boxes.
Absolutely. From the moment that the first FBI trucks arrived till the moment that the actual trucks with the ballot boxes left the warehouse, it was about 9 hours or so.
I think that what they're looking for here are these disputed 150,000 votes that nobody can really source, that there are a lot of sworn affidavits that say that they were fake, they weren't on the right printer paper, they didn't have creases, they were all for Joe Biden, and they were pulled out from underneath a desk in that famous video when the water pipe burst. Can you give me sort of a sense on the ground? Like, are people still upset about this? Like, is this really what the feds are going after? Is there something else that's happening here?
Yeah, when I actually started to look into this stuff a month ago, that's the thought process that I was going through. Do people actually care about something that happened in 2020, especially after President Trump having a historical win in 24? And when I first put out the video of people being registered at an abandoned home and then thousands of people being registered from a single address, which ended up being a church, the amount of feedback that I got from that made me realize that I need to do a full kind of 45-minute video about this going across all of Fulton County. And since we put that out, the amount of feedback that we're getting from just local people here in Fulton County or across the state of Georgia is just overwhelming, honestly. Just nonstop thank yous. I went to the Capitol during their big ballot initiative to go to paper ballots only. And everyone there is thanking me. All I did was come in and shed some light into the groundwork that they've been laying for years there. So I think personally, from what I've seen, people still truly care about something that, yes, happened over 5 years ago. But I think the most important thing is that if we're going to have a strong sovereign nation, as President Trump said there, a couple important factors there is sovereignty over our border, but safe and free elections, which in 2020, it's pretty questionable, especially when you see what I saw just going around 3 hours Fulton County.
Yes. Could you please break down, like, what are the most, we have some of your clips loaded up here, but what are some of the most shocking things that you saw when it came to fake voter registrations? And just as a preview or an appetizer here, obviously, if you have 100 individuals registered to an empty lot, that's 100 ballots that get mailed out. Somebody could intercept those ballots. Somebody could vote with those ballots. And then once you separate the ballot from the envelope, nobody will know the difference. That's how easy the fraud would be if you were registering hundreds, dozens, thousands of people to fake addresses like this. That's how the fraud could get systematized on a machine level, right? Is this what you found?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the problem is when you look at the circumstance of the 2020 election and it being an emergency year election with essentially massive mail-in ballots, right? Universal mail-in ballots in states like Pennsylvania, right? You didn't even have to request it. The state essentially sent out everyone that was on the voter rolls a mail-in ballot. So if that's the case in Georgia during the 2020 election, which it was definitely the case in Pennsylvania, and the same problem that we see in Georgia is the problem in Pennsylvania, then that means that churches that registered thousands of homeless people for state benefits, but also checked off the voter box thing when they were doing that registration, suddenly got thousands of ballots to one single address. Or take the empty lot where it's definitely one person is actively registered there. That means a ballot went there. You say, okay, who cares about one ballot? Well, take everything that we ran around and saw in just 3 hours. That's 3,000 voter irregularities of people registered to vote from either virtual boxes, bus stations, literally a highway bridge right underneath it. There's no mailboxes there. When you get circumstances like the 2020 election, of course, you're going to get massive mail ballots that are sent to places like that. And that's a serious problem because there could be so many nefarious problems that happen when that occurs.
What was what's top of mind for one of the more shocking things that you've seen? I know you've done a number of these, and you've also been posted by the president 3 or 4 times now. So congratulations.
Oh, it's always nice when the president sees the work, but I understand why he's so focused on this because I after the initial wave of the 2020 election, I kind of started to not believe the narratives. And that was for years at that point, until again a month ago when I visually saw things like thousands of people registered from a single church. And if you really want to dig deeper into this, the only reason why thousands of people are registered to vote from churches is because there's an advocacy group that is state funded. That means that your money goes to this advocacy groups, and they go outside of the church. They're also registered at the church, by the way, but they go outside of the church and they sign thousands of homeless people up for state benefits. But at the same time, they also register them to vote. So that's a massive systemic issue. To add an additional thing to it is that you would say, Benny, you go to an empty lot or a porta potty like you went to and say, hey, why won't the state or the county officials just remove and purge the people that are registered to vote from obviously an empty lot or porta potties? And the reason why is we've started to learn is that the county receives money for their election based on the total amount of people that are registered to vote, not that are actively or going to vote or anything like that, but the total amount. And when they don't spend that money on their election, because obviously 120% of the people in the county aren't going to come out and vote, they get to keep that money. And when that county keeps that money, they can pour it into advocacy groups like at the church in order to have massive voter registration operations targeting not the most favorable demographic for Republicans or conservative candidates. So I think that's a massive issue besides all the funky stuff of us going to empty lots, bus stations. That's just easy to purge. But you start to ask yourself, why don't they purge it? And then you run into the churches, the advocacy groups, the money essentially, and you start to put two and two together here.
So in conclusion here, and we're just massive fans of your work, massive fans of your reporting. Obviously the president is too. What do you think they're going to find? You were on site yesterday. Obviously, I don't think you're a member of the FBI. I don't think they brought you in. Did you see Tulsi Gabbard? Did you get any indication from your on-the-ground reporting as to, what further they found or were looking for? Did you see anything that sort of showed you what direction they were heading from the actual Fulton Election Board building there?
No, everything that I saw is what I put out on X. I was basically right at the perimeter where media was allowed to be at. And for some reason, they not for some reason, you can't dock the truck all the way into the into the warehouse. So there was a little bit of space that you could routinely see FBI agents going to boxes. And obviously, this is where the Fulton County stores their their ballots. So we kind of put, again, two and two together, and we realized that FBI agents were on the scene executing a search warrant and then loading the evidence, which we presume to be ballots. And it even goes above ballots. It's communication devices, but we understand potentially even the Dominion ballot machine. So it's various things that they're potentially were loading onto the truck. And an FBI media press individual came out. I asked her for a scoop. She said she can only refer me to what's officially been put out. And I asked them if this is a multi-day operation. And that's when she said, nope, we just finished loading the last box and we're getting out of here.
Did you see Tulsi Gabbard?
I did not see Tulsi.
Okay. It's been a wild ride, man. This is going to be very, very interesting. Buckle up. It is exactly what we voted for. It's interesting that this is sort of I call it this way God works, but it's sort of a culmination for you, since this was something that brought you into the 2020 election. Theft is something that brought you into politics, and now to be able to see it firsthand and to focus so much on Fulton County, you're just in the right space, man.
Yeah, right place at the right time.
That's right. That's right. If you want more of that, that's where good reporting and great content comes from. Go ahead and follow David Kate right here. He's on his way to 100,000 followers. He's had a ton of viral videos, and he's just one of those spectacular, fearless, young journalists and independent journalists that are telling true stories the media do not want you to see. So make sure that we pour in and follow David. Thank you so much for your work, David.
Thank you, Benny, for having me on.
My man. Gentlemen, in just a moment, we will have Georgia Congressman Barry Loudermilk on the program, who I think will have quite a bit to say about this. He's been a strong Trump supporter for a very long time. We want you to be strong and healthy in the year 2026. There are great fights ahead. You got to make sure that you bring your strength and that you protect your health in this new year. How much time, money, and energy have you spent on health, wellness, and beauty products to make you feel younger and healthier? But have you really looked for products that might be breakthrough products that could help you do that naturally? Fatty 15, ladies and gentlemen, is a C15 fatty acid. Fatty 15 is a brand new breakthrough product that strengthens your cells. 100 U.S. studies show that it can slow biological aging on a cellular level, and it can ensure that you have the energy to continue going on in this great battle that we are all fighting here together. Cellular fragility syndrome is a problem that affects 1 in 3 people worldwide with low C15 levels. Fatty 15 can help repair age-related damage to cells for a full breakthrough to make sure that you feel great and that you have a science-backed, award-winning, patented, 100% pure C15 supplement ready to go. Fatty 15 is on a mission to optimize your C15 levels to help support your long-term health and wellness, especially as you age. You can get additional 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit by going to fatty15.com/Benny and using code Benny at checkout. fatty15.com/Benny. All right, ladies and gentlemen. A great clip that was shared by the president this morning. How to steal an election is an all-time favorite of ours, and it sort of gives you the tail of the tape here and where President Trump's head is right now. Let's go.
Start with a virus, import it into America. Talk about it nonstop. Call some governors. Not them. That's your guys. Put patients into nursing homes. Kill thousands. Blame the president. Keep blaming. Blame some more. Lock down small business. Kill the economy. Push mail-in voting. Stoke a race war. Call for riots. Pick a candidate. No, not her. Yeah, that's more like it. Lock him in his basement. Shield him from the press. Don't cover this. Don't cover this. Don't cover this. Keep doing that. Ignore the economic recovery. Downplay the world peace. Pump the polls. Pump. Don't stop pumping. Install your software in swing states. That was fast. Take control of polling stations. Call off the election when you're losing. Kick everyone out. Pull out all the extra ballots. Get the software to do its thing. Get the media to say it's over. Call the big tech guys. Ban anyone who notices. Act like the whole thing never happened. Stealing the most powerful republic in the world. It's that easy.
Have you ever seen a moment right now in American history where we are set to flip a narrative and to break chains in a more historic way than if they were to prove that Georgia manipulated their election, broke the law, and stole 2 Senate seats along with the presidential election in 2020? It would be such an incredible vindication. However, it wouldn't be something that would surprise us, given the fact that we have a good memory, and Joe Biden told us what they were planning on doing when he was running for president in 2020. Joe Biden was out with it. He said so on camera, live, what they were building in this election. This is why we've been talking about it with such certitude for the last 4 years, why we never doubted, and why we're so excited for this moment is because, well, we've been tracking this stuff. Feel like we're taking crazy pills around here because it's like, are we the only ones who listened to Joe Biden when he said this? Here we go.
We have put together, and you guys did it for our administration, the President Obama's administration before this. We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
I made a couple of phone calls last night in preparation for this show. Called up a couple people that did some really excellent work on, let's just say, fortifying the 2024 presidential election against the election stealing software. And they told me straight up that the evidence exists of the stolen election here in Fulton County. And that there was a team, a strike team that was deployed in 2024 to make sure that they didn't do it again. They learned so much of how this election was stolen. They prevented it from happening, mainly by preventing the tabulators from flipping ballots to give you sort of that perfect 49 to 50% that you get every single time. Boom, 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 boom. It's like an algorithm. Flipping Trump votes to Biden votes. Joe Biden getting 120% of the available votes in multiple counties in Georgia. That's a matter of fact. It was a full operation that happened in the dark of night that has now come into the light. And so we're really excited to see the results of this. It's been a long time in the making. We've seen it. We've been screaming about it. We've been yelling about it. You can see the actual theft live on camera. I mean, you can see like I can't move off this topic without playing my favorite CNN clip, where CNN accidentally caught ballot stuffers live on one of their broadcasts. This is also a great clip, but not the one that I'm talking about, Klein. It's too easy. Look at this. This is how they camp ballots in California. This is from California, where a bunch of masked dudes just like pick up giant bags of ballots and are just like carrying them out in an unmarked car. Where CNN is trying to do a report on the street in Ohio, and they just straight up like
Cuyahoga County,
accidentally
Ohio.
show.
You can see this woman right here casting her vote. Did you vote for Reagan or Jimmy Carter? Carter, okay. We don't want to get too personal with people here, but you can...
Look at the number of ballots she has. Look at that. You know, it's illegal to cast a ballot for somebody other than yourself in Ohio. CNN, this lady don't care. Wanda the Stuffer. She don't care. CNN realizes what they've done and pull away very quickly here. Okay, let's run away. She has a minivan full of ballots. A minivan full of it. If this was happening in the red state of Ohio, how much at scale was this happening in Fulton County? They won't have any chain of custody. They'll prove that the ballots were fake. The judge granted the criminal warrant. And man, we got to lock in. Make sure that you are locked in and ready for all of the breaking news. Patriot Mobile is the devices that we use in order to bring you breaking news when we're out in the field or when we're here in the studio. Patriot Mobile backs us up. They're the only Christian conservative wireless provider. And ladies and gentlemen, they have been with us for quite a while. They have sponsored us to go to the RNC convention. For instance, we're going to be going to the RNC convention again here in the midterm convention. Patriot Mobile keeps us connected and locked in when we are on the road. We're thankful for them. Get yourself a Patriot Mobile device. Get on the Patriot Mobile network today. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny or call 972-PATRIOT and use the promo code Benny for a free month of service. patriotmobile.com/Benny or call 972-PATRIOT. We're going to call up a Patriot right now, Barry Loudermilk, who's joining us from the great state of Georgia to talk about all of the happenings and goings-on in that state. It is a very, very exciting time. Please welcome the congressman from Georgia, Barry Loudermilk. Congressman, thank you for being on the program. Love that background. Look at that. The old Patriot flag. We got one of those. Looking good.
Looks a little similar. I'm just missing the Angel Studios hoodie there.
It's cold in Tampa. It's chilly in Tampa. Normally I wear a black t-shirt, but it's cold here, man. They're supposed to get snow. We're supposed to get snow.
Yeah.
In Tampa this weekend.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, they're talking about some of that here in Georgia as well. So we'll see.
We'll
see what happens.
All right,
Yeah.
talk to me about this FBI raid. You know, we've been covering everything from the pipe burst to the ballots pulled out from under the tables to all of the shady dealings in Fulton County. You know, we've been to Fulton County a couple times, Congressman. Man, it is it's rough around there. And if there was a place where Democrats would want to commit fraud, this would be it. 150,000 ballots that have never been inspected, that according to sworn affidavits did not come on the same paper, that didn't have creases, were like marked nearly 100% for Joe Biden. What's your take on this?
Well, this is what we've heard from day one, and it's about time that we start a real investigation into this. Look, there has never been a time. I was born in Georgia. I've been in Georgia most of my life. I cannot remember a time that there wasn't some kind of voting irregularity in Fulton County. I mean, it's historical. If you go back into the midterm elections back during the first Trump administration, CNN and others were complaining about election irregularities in Fulton County. The problem was, you know, Republicans won during that time. But even then, they were talking about voter suppression of minorities in Fulton County. And so, but then just a few years later, Fulton County's elections were perfect. There's nothing wrong with them. Why are you looking here? Look, I've learned in politics and in government, whenever they tell you, quit looking here, that's where you need to look. I mean, even from everything that's happened in the past, even January 6th. All right, quit investigating January 6th. We don't want to hear any more about it. It's over with. Quit rewriting history. It's the same thing with the 2020 election. You don't need to look there. It's over with. It was a perfect election when we've never seen a perfect election out of Fulton County.
So what you are seeing, however, is our Director of National Intelligence right here. And it's the only photo of Tulsi Gabbard. I know that you know Tulsi. I believe you served with Tulsi in the house when she was in the House. I think you were both in the House together. She's doing a spectacular job. Stayed quite under the radar, but told the president this past summer in a cabinet meeting, we have found evidence that these digital machines can flip votes and can manipulate elections. She said that live on TV. We played the clip, 40 minutes ago. And so is that what's going on here, Congressman? Is she making good on that promise to President Trump to expose election fraud?
Well, I do know from working very closely with the ODNI and especially Tulsi Gabbard herself in some investigations that this has been one of the priorities of the Director of National Intelligence. She has had people dedicated to looking into the 2020 election as well as some other things. So this is something I believe that she is following up on. And look, I think even if she was a Democrat, I was a Republican. She was one of the more reasonable Democrats, and she had a lot of integrity. And she would call foul when there was a foul, and whether it was on either side. So I think she's going to do a good job. I think she is doing a good job. But, you've had several years of people to not only cover up, but bury evidence and then throw a lot of dirt on it. And so this is important. And people have questioned, why does it have to be a raid? Well, it has to be a raid because if they know you're coming, you're not going to get everything. And so this is very important. It's a very significant step for the American people, regardless of which side you're on. Let's get to the bottom of it, right? I mean, if we don't bring closure to some of these things, children in the history are going to look back and question whether or not we can still believe our elections are real and have integrity.
So this is very interesting. You're saying it had to be a raid because you don't trust Fulton County to not destroy evidence.
Absolutely. I mean, there's little trust I have in a lot of our government agencies, to be honest with you, and I think that's healthy. Our founders intended us to have a natural distrust of government, and so government in its best state is a necessary evil, according to Thomas Paine. In its worst state, it's an intolerable one. And we've seen, I think, in the last decade going toward that intolerable one. Look, people do not trust our government anymore. That's a sad situation. I mean, it's a fear of government. And I think the only way that we're going to get people to be proud of their government again and not afraid of it is through transparency, exposure, and accountability.
So what do you think actually happened in Fulton County? What do you think the FBI is going to find there, Congressman?
It's hard to tell because there's been so many different things that have come up. You brought up the broken pipe. ballot stuffing, absentee ballots that did not appear to be legal, multiple ballots showing up in various places at strange times, just like the video you showed of Ohio, as well as concerns over the electronic voting machines. And so that's, I think the problem we had in Georgia. Look, there's always voter fraud. You're never going to get away from voter fraud. And myself and other members of the Georgia congressional delegation had a phone call with the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, a couple of months before the election. And we warned him, do not send out applications for absentee ballots to every registered voter. You know, the majority of those registered voters, they don't regularly vote. But what you're doing is you're opening the door for fraud. He ignored our advice. He went forward with it, and it was way too easy to submit fraudulent ballots during the 2020 election. That's a fact. It was made way too easy to do that. We had people who had never voted before were casting ballots, and I bet those people don't even know that they cast a ballot at that time.
So do you? Okay, so you're saying that the mass mail-in ballots might be part of the problem here in Fulton County. This is, of course, a state that had a Republican governor and Republican Secretary of State at the time. Do you think that they were in on it, or do you think that it was just incompetent? I mean, if you're sitting there warning the Republican Secretary of State to not do this, and he goes ahead and does it, and all but guarantees that there's going to be a fraudulent election, I mean, what are we to make of that?
I mean, I don't think he was necessarily in on it, but I think he was naive into thinking that our election system was more secure than it was. I think there was some fear involved in it because we're in the middle of the COVID pandemic. That I think it was just a combination of things. It was sort of like the planets lined up just right for this to happen, but yet we could have put guardrails in place. I mean, things happen in Georgia weren't as broad as in other states where it was not the legislature changing a voter election law, but we did do some things that enabled fraud to happen. Prior to 2020, the majority of the fraud that we found in Georgia, again, there's always voter fraud. The problem with holding people accountable to that is you have to investigate. By the time you investigate and you find the fraud, the election is well beyond, and the whoever won the election is already in office. So you have to prevent that type of fraud up front. And traditionally, the majority of voter fraud across the nation, but especially in the state of Georgia, has been in mail-in paper ballots. And we lowered the criteria for being able to send in a paper ballot a few years before that, and then in 2020 we just basically stripped everything away. Look, it wasn't hard to send in a fraudulent ballot because the signature on the ballot just had to match the application, not your voter registration. So it was easy for anyone to interrupt that. I've used the example, if you had a homeless center somewhere where they do a great job of helping people off the streets, get some training, get a job, and live a successful life. Well, part of that is getting a driver's license or getting a state ID. Both of those, you're automatically registered to vote, right? And when they get that, their home address is likely the rescue mission or the center or the ministry, wherever they were housed in their dormitory. That was probably the address that they had. They've moved out years later. They're working somewhere. But when you send out these applications for absentee ballots, where do you send them? To whatever address was listed on the voter registration, which is probably still that center that they were in. So let's say you got 50 or 100 applications that show up there. It's very easy for somebody to take those applications, sign those applications, then sign a ballot to match the signature on the application, not the voter registration. That was part of the problem here in Georgia.
Now, you say that there's no nefariousness to it, but I don't think so. I mean, that's just my opinion. But I think that there's incompetence, right? And then there's malevolence. And at some point, gross incompetence is the same as malevolence. It's that they didn't like Trump, and that the Republican leadership of the state of Georgia allowed this to happen. And you can look at the results, man. These results, If you wouldn't mind popping it up. These results in 2020, it still was rage-inducing to me. 49-50. Look at there. There's President Trump. 49-50. 49-50. There's John Ossoff. 49-50. There's Raphael Warnock. I mean, listen, man, you're talking about mathematical probabilities here that are impossible.
Right, and I agree that there's some nefarious actors out there. I think there's some accountability that needs to be had of the leadership because of not preparing better. But definitely there were groups out there who were planning this for a long time. And so, there was this was not just purely because of someone being negligent. It was the negligence allowed nefarious actors. And again, that's my opinion, but we'll learn a whole lot more, hopefully, when the FBI continues their investigation.
Have you heard anything about these crisp, clean ballots with only one mark on them, digital marks, not even like somebody voting, but like a digital mark? Have you heard about these? Can you explain what that is? That 150,000 ballots that have never been inspected in Fulton County?
So what the allegation there is when you receive a absentee ballot, right, you fill in the little bubble or box just like you're taking an SAT test, right? Mm-hmm. You got to fill in that square or that bubble. What they were saying is there were a large numbers of those that were so accurately filled in, it appeared to have been done digitally, with a computer printer, right? Because if you're going to do it by hand, unless you are just OCD to the extreme that you have to stay right in the circle, most people are just going to put an X, a check, or they're going to, fill it in. It's not going to fill in the whole box, or there's going to be scribble lines going outside of it. And I have not seen these actual ballots. I've seen pictures of those, but we have had people testify that there were a large number of those ballots that were so accurately filled in, they had to be mass produced.
And they went 98% for Joe Biden.
I think if it's not 98, 100%. Yeah. Wow. I mean, if you were smart and you were gonna steal an election, you got to put some in for the other guy, right? So, but yeah, there was a lot of fear during that time. There was not a lot of control. Yeah. And I think everything just lined up to make it easy to steal. And fortunately, the state legislature and the governor put in some more of the controls which should have been in prior to 2020 that make it a lot harder to steal. You're still going to have fraud. You're not going to get away from the fraud until you have people working these elections that have integrity and not political bias.
I mean, I'm looking at a tabulation here that says, if we just pop that up, 10,000 votes. That was what Joe Biden won Georgia by in 2020. So you're telling me that even if just a small fraction of these votes are fraudulent, then the state flips to Donald Trump.
Exactly.
So what happens then, Congressman? Right? What you have a long history here, and you understand the Constitution. What happens when you can prove that a state was stolen?
That's a good question, because this is a new area that we're going to be looking at. You can't go back and take back the 4 years of the Biden administration as much as most people would like.
That's a fact.
But at the same time, we've got to take this, and first of all, people need to be held accountable. If this investigation proves that there was fraud, if there was coordination with election officials, or if there was gross negligence or criminal negligence, I'm not an attorney, but I know the terms, then we have to hold those accountable, not just to punish those, but to set a standard for election officials going forward. And also we need to follow this through to see, where was this funded? Where did this come? Was this Stacey Abrams' organization that funded this? There had to be coordination. This isn't just Fulton County. This is across the state of Georgia, and to an extent across the nation, that there were extreme irregularities, if you want to put it politically correct, right? Extreme irregularities in normal voting standards across the nation, which means there had to be some level of coordination.
Yes. Well, I like that Georgia. It seems like Georgia. I think this is a good place to start. I think if you can prove this in Georgia, then I think it begins to unravel all across the country. Rat eat rat. You'll start to get people that turn on each other, and it's made me wonder a little bit. And you're involved in some of these decisions, or at least in some of these classified briefings about Nicolas Maduro. and the election software that comes out of Venezuela. Many people are talking about this. Many people have briefed me who were involved in preventing a tabulation, switching of votes in the 2024 election, but said that this software is designed effectively to deliver the kind of algorithmic results that get you the 49-50. You know, you just almost won, right? Like, the Charlie Brown, Football and Lucy kind of situation. And these are members of Congress. These are people that I really respect, and they told me that there was a big effort there to get rid of this software, or to mute or to stunt this software from doing what it was designed to do. Have you heard anything like that? Do you believe that this raid on Nicolas Maduro has something to do with election theft?
Well, I mean, it could. That hasn't been made public, but now that he is in custody, I'm sure that is something that is of interest to the FBI, to the State Department, and to the administration. Is what did you know? When did you know it? Were you involved in this? Look, there is a reason that the Democrats are so upset over the apprehension of him, right? He was the bad guy to them. Most people are going to say it's Trump derangement syndrome. They all of a sudden don't like it because he's the one who caught him, and they're all upset over Maduro, but they were okay with Obama going in and actually killing Osama bin Laden, right? You would think if they were upset, they would be upset over actually going in and taking somebody's life, not just arresting them. So a lot of their opposition to this just doesn't make a lot of sense. And it could be because it's the beginning of unraveling some things that they don't want unraveled. I don't know, but you have to be suspicious and you have to look into everything.
You're doing that with the January 6th Select Committee, and we're really appreciative for your work on that. I know that you're looking into Brian Cole, Carlin Younger. You've been making some requests for transcribed interviews and getting more information about everything from the pipe bomber. This was all part of, honestly, the op. I mean, it seems like this was all centrally coordinated and orchestrated along with the election in 2020 in order to defeat President Trump and his movement forever. And January 6th played a huge part in that. Can you give us perhaps like an update as to where your committee is right now and what you found?
Well, we're broadening our investigation at this point based on a lot of different factors, but one is having a friendly administration who is also interested in getting to the bottom of this. So we have an FBI that's working with us, DHS, U.S. Secret Service. They're all cooperating now, providing us information. And so with that new information flow, it brings up more questions. And in regard to Carlin Younger, for people who haven't been following this, she's the one who actually found the pipe bomb behind the Republican National Committee on the morning or the afternoon of January 6th. And the reason we're interested in her is some of her statements that she made to the FBI don't line up with some of the things that Cole is stating or the FBI has been stating. Yeah. And so we just want to get more information of what she saw, because there's some concern that we have video of Cole placing the bombs, which, the FBI believes it's him. He's admitted to doing this on the evening of the 5th, but the bombs that were found on the 6th really just don't match up. He put 60-minute egg timers on there. Neither one of them went off after an hour the night of the 5th. The one that Carlin Younger found, she claims still had 20 minutes left on the timer. We want to know, did she really see that? How did she know there was 20 minutes left? There's a lot of questions. Why didn't they go off the night before? Did both timers just suddenly stop, these little mechanical timers?
Yeah.
Or is there speculation that maybe somebody went and set them the next day? Right. So there's just so many questions that are still out there that things just don't line up, that we're just trying to get to the bottom to find out more information. The other thing is I have questions for the FBI as well. Why did Carlin Younger have to call the FBI to be interviewed? I mean, she's the one who reported. You think the FBI, she would have been one of the first people they call and interview. But yet one of my colleagues in Congress who happened to be with his daughter a couple of blocks away on January 5th, he gets called by the FBI and he's questioned, what did you see? Did you see anybody? What were you doing there? But they don't call the person who actually found the first bomb. It's just, it's just, I think it was bad investigation, but also I want to know if there was more to it. Was there any coordination? We know, look, there was a lot of things that were done wrong. There was a lot of mistakes made on January 6th. Were they intentional? That's one thing we want to know. But what I do know is there was intentional cover up of a lot of it.
So yeah, that's remarkable. So you're saying that the evidence points to the bombs being either manipulated, being planted, but then they're not the same bombs. Either they were manipulated after being planted, or somebody had swapped out the bombs. Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's one of the things we're trying to figure out, because her testimony is different than what Cole is saying, right? He said he set them to go off that night. Neither one of them went off. We know that to be a fact. Miss Younger testified to the FBI that when she found it, it was there. It was with 20 minutes still left on the timer, which unless the timer just malfunctioned, that's impossible, right?
This is like broader conspiracy.
40 minutes earlier,
it has to be a bigger conspiracy there, right? Than just one loner in his mom's basement. Yeah.
Right. And the other question is the Secret Service that came to, they were there because the vice president-elect, I'm talking about over at the DNC, right? Kamala Harris was vice president-elect. She was going to be at the DNC around 11:45 that morning. So the Secret Service advance team came to sweep the facility. If that bomb was there and active the night before, the bomb dog and handler walked by it within 10 feet or less several times. Did that dog hit on it? We can't tell. You would think if it is as the FBI lab report says, that it was a viable device, it had explosives in it, these dogs should have hit on it. Now, we've had some experts look at it, say it doesn't look like the dog hits. We've had others say it does look like the dog is hitting on it, but the handler is just ignoring the dog. Either way, the Secret Service should have known that there was a bomb right there. And then you have things like they evacuate her over by where the bomb is, right? After it's found. And then you have all kind of irregular things happening. They put up the police tape around the area where the bomb is after they found it, as they're waiting on the bomb crew to get out there, bomb disposal unit, and they're letting civilians just walk under the tape and walk by. In fact, we have video of one guy in a suit walking by and looking at the little bomb robot that's carrying the bomb. I mean, there's nobody stopping him. And then you have vehicles going by, but yet they prohibit a vehicle that was supposed to be carrying barricades over to the Capitol to help with crowd control. They were not allowed to go through the area. So there's all of these strange things that happen that either we have a situation. I've had several people say the entire response to the pipe bombs looked more like Keystone Cops than professionals. And there's, and I know people that work in the Capitol Police. There's some fine people that work there. Metropolitan Police, the same with all these. But no one seemed to be in control of either situation. And therefore, the chief of police, of Capitol Police at that time, Stephen Sund, he had to send more resources over to these bombs, taking them away from the front of the Capitol. So there's just too many things to ignore. That you can't ignore, right? We just can't ignore these things until we get solid answers, because I believe the Capitol is no more safe today than it was on January 6th, because no one has asked these difficult questions and no one wants to dig into these things. And therefore, until you find out what happened, you're never going to fix it.
Yeah, just one last question on this, and we really do appreciate your work on trying to set the narrative straight on January 6th. What a mess. Same thing with the 2020 election. They are connected. There's a lot of conversation about Renee Good and Alex Preddy, and saying that, the federal government is acting with deadly force and without warning and so on. This all happened on January 6th. I didn't see any of these people at all mention multiple members of the MAGA movement that were killed on January 6th. Ashley Babbitt is the one that is the most famous, and she was unarmed. She was killed without warning. It was an extrajudicial murder. And I'm wondering if your committee is going to be looking at all further into that, either for compensation for her family, or maybe perhaps closure, or maybe a more full investigation of Michael Byrd's actions that day. It doesn't seem like he's ever been held you're talking about holding people accountable, man. I mean, this guy just straight up committed murder.
Right. Well, the reality of that is we in the previous Congress, we investigated that pretty thoroughly. And as a result of our investigation, Ashley Babbitt's family did receive a judicial reward in their favor from the federal government because of the investigative work we did, because the fact is that officer should have not been on the force based on previous disciplinary problems that he had. There appeared to be a lot of favoritism going on within Capitol Police. And so we're still looking into those areas. I sent a letter to the previous Capitol Police, one who just retired, the police chief, I'm sorry, one who just retired, asking after he had recently promoted Michael Byrd, can you give me the justification of why you promoted him based on all of these factors that have been in play over the past several years? Why was he even on the force still, much less being promoted? And why did he receive such a huge financial compensation, much larger than any other Capitol Police officer did who was engaged in frontline fighting on January 6th. Oh, yeah. I mean, it was in the several thousands of dollars of bonus, you may say, that he received.
To kill a member of to kill an unarmed woman and a veteran?
This is a question that needs to be asked as to why. And we had not gotten those answers. Leadership has changed in the Capitol Police, and from my conversations with others, this guy, he wants to clean up. And he's kind of has a reputation of cleaning up forces in different police departments he's been in. So I hope that they're going to be doing some deep dives into a lot of the performance of those certain people within the Capitol Police that have, again, until we have good standards, good training, and you look at these hard things. I mean, they're difficult, right? I mean, these are things that people they don't want you to look at. It's sort of like in The Wizard of Oz. Don't look at the man behind the curtain, right? We want you to believe what we're telling you to believe. We want you to believe there's a wizard here, but we don't want you to know the truth. But if you don't know the truth, you're never going to stop bad things from happening again, or you won't be ready when they do.
Well, we'd like to know the truth about the 2020 election in Georgia. Looks like that's hopefully what we're going to find now. Sounds like the FBI is pretty happy with what they got. That's what we have from on the ground reporting. Just one quick question, a comment to John Ossoff, who has posted now citing January 6th, in fact, attacking President Trump. He seems to be really, really concerned about what's happening in Georgia. And I don't understand why, Congressman, because if it is a fair election, and if all of this is above board and everything was clean as a whistle and he's a legitimate senator, then why would he be concerned about this? Again, he cited January 6th. Since you are the expert, I thought I'd bring you in on this.
Well, I haven't seen this from him, but it definitely makes sense. You don't, again, it's the man behind the curtain. As you're saying, it could be, hey, I really don't want you to see that I may have lost, especially in an election year where I'm trying to win again. But it's just there's so much. There's so much.
They stole these Senate seats too. You think they stole these Senate? Do you think they stole these Senate seats too? These 2 Senate seats in Georgia?
I think they fell under the same scope of fraud as did the presidential election because they're just way too close. They're almost identical in the way that they came out.
That's right. Man, when you look at the numbers there and live on CNN, when you look at the numbers there, you're like, oh, wow, it's the exact same number. It's like they programmed an algorithm, and we work in algorithms all day long, and it's like you can do this. It makes a lot of sense.
That doesn't happen. I mean, one of the things we look at in Georgia elections is all of us in the delegation, we look at our election as compared to the governor or the president, who outperformed who, right? And it's normal that your local elected official normally is going to outperform the statewide or the national. I mean, in my race, I generally outperformed the president a little bit more. Others underperform of the president in their districts. But I can't ever recall in all the years I've been running in elections at the state level or federal level that I have been exactly the same. It just doesn't happen, right?
It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. We really appreciate your work, Congressman. You're just one of the straight shooters, and we're thankful for you. Everybody needs to go support Barry Loudermilk. He's just one of those guys that gets to the bottom of this without a lot of, without causing a lot of drama. And he's trying to tell the story, the true story of January 6th. It is tied to the 2020 election theft. And it is Barry Loudermilk who's doing the hard work, looking at things that very few members of Congress want to do. So thank you very much, Congressman.
Right.
Follow him here.
Thank you, Benny.
Godspeed.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Gentlemen, we are preparing for a President Trump cabinet meeting. Should be a blast. We are going to be going live with this cabinet meeting. We even have a photo here from inside of the White House because ALX is going to be at the cabinet meeting today. You can see a shot of Scott Pressler there waiting. And we got hopefully going to be plenty of fireworks here. You should pop your popcorn or snack on your masa chips. That's what I would recommend. Better than popcorn for you, masa chips has corn and salt and beef tallow. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. They taste incredible. They leave you feeling incredible. You're satisfied and light and energetic without any crash or bloat or sluggish feeling. Ladies and gentlemen, masa chips are available at Sprouts Market, but also at my dinner table every single night. You can come on over for the cookout. Got great, really great flavors. Original French onion, herbes de Provence, smokehouse barbecue. They're very, very tasty, and they are actually good for you. Give masa a try. Go to masachips.com/Benny. Use the code Benny for 25% off your first order. Simply click the link in the video description, scan the QR code to claim this delicious offer. Well, I have something very delicious for you as we await President Trump, and I'm sure there'll be plenty to be said about this the stolen election in 2020. There has been an arrest, not for the stolen election yet, but the Somali woman, whose name is Nasra Ahmed, who went viral for setting Somalis back 1,000 years, if that's even possible, talking about how being a Somali in America is just like bananas and rice. She went viral because of this clip here, ladies and gentlemen, and, well, she's going viral for all the right reasons after an arrest yesterday. First, the clip.
So I'm Somali. I'm proud to be Somali. To me, being Somali isn't just eating bananas with rice. It's a lot. It's like it's an interesting thing. It's very hard to describe what it means to be Somali and what it means to be American, but it's like a cultural fusion. It's kind of like the bananas and rice. You know, people don't really see, like, you know, it's you know, people don't think, oh, you can eat bananas with rice, but that's what it's like to be Somali and American. It's like that combination of banana and rice, but you're gonna get what I mean.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Every time that a Somali does a press conference, it is a very, very bad idea. And it's also a bad idea to fight federal authorities, to spit on federal agents, and that is precisely what Nasra Ahmed did. She was part of, let's see here, 16 different Minnesotan rioters that were arrested yesterday. I promised you arrests. I will never lie to you. Here are some of the mug shots of those who were arrested, including Nasra Ahmed. No. Put up Nasra Ahmed. No. Gotta show it. Ladies and gentlemen, because this is the golden era, and I want you to see. There you go. Klein, you didn't have it? You didn't have the Nasra Ahmed? Okay. Well, go ahead and feast your eyes, ladies and gentlemen. Bananas and rice in prison, we'll see. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your golden era. Make sure that during the golden era, you are investing in gold. Now we can put up President Trump, who just started his cabinet meeting. ALX is there. The golden era brought to you by Advantage Gold. We're always proud to cover the president at the White House. Plenty of gold there at the White House because gold holds its value and is skyrocketing to its highest value ever. Text to get Advantage Gold to lock in your golden future. Text Benny to 85545 right now. Text Benny to 85545 right now to get your free gold investment kit and to get on that gold rally while it keeps breaking records. Advantage Gold. Text Benny to 85545 right now. Here's the President of the United States. Let's rock and roll.
First in recorded history. It's the lowest in at least 125 years. It's a wonderful thing. And the crime is way down. And one of the reasons is we've taken a lot of bad people and gotten them out of our country. In some cases, they're so bad that we put them in prison because we don't want them to even take a chance of coming back in, even though our border is very secure, record-setting secure. We had 0 illegal aliens being admitted into our country for the last 8 months. That's hard for even me to believe, but the people that make up the lists are supposedly nonpartisan, but I would say they lean toward the Democrat side. And if they say that, I'm all for it. As you know, we've had a situation take place with respect to Venezuela. I want to just thank General Kane and his staff. Well, the job that they've done is incredible. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And once it did take place, I want to thank the leadership of Venezuela. We're getting along really well with them. The relationships have been very strong, very good. And they have informed me that they feel there's very good security, very strong security. We're working with the various people involved, including Chris and Doug and everybody on the oil. We have the major oil companies going to Venezuela now, scouting it out and picking their locations. And they'll be bringing back tremendous wealth for Venezuela and for the United States. And the oil companies will do fine too. Venezuela will actually make for themselves more money than they've ever made before. And that's a good thing. And the people of Venezuela were literally in the streets waving American flags. They were so happy. And the people in our country, like in the Doral section of Miami, which is considered Little Venezuela, they're thrilled. And I just spoke to the president of Venezuela, informed her that we're going to be opening up all commercial airspace over Venezuela. American citizens will be very shortly able to go to Venezuela, and they'll be safe there. They'll be safe. It's under very strong control. And the people of formerly of Venezuela, some want to go back and some want to go back to visit, and they're going to be able to do that. So I've instructed Sean Duffy and everybody else concerned, including the military, that if you would, by the end of today, I'd like you to have the airspace over Venezuela. Planes can go to Venezuela opened up. Okay? Yes. Thank you very much. And I want to thank all of the people in Venezuela for what they went through. And I want to thank the leadership for really, they're doing a good job. And just as I promised, we've defeated the Biden inflation nightmare and achieved explosive new economic growth. The Atlanta Fed is predicting an astounding 5.4% GDP growth in the fourth quarter. And that's despite the fact that we had a Democrat shutdown. We would have had, that number would have been 7%, which is a number nobody's ever heard of. And we've been given great national security because of tariffs. And we've also been given unprecedented income because of tariffs. Part of the income that we gave, $12 billion, we gave to the farmers of our country. So that yesterday I was up in Iowa, and they were very happy, Madam Secretary. Yes, sir. They were very, very happy. They were great. So the GDP growth in the fourth quarter was great. And it's going to be, I think we're going to have an amazing and incredible year. Hopefully we won't have a shutdown. We're working on that right now. I think we're getting close. The Democrats, I don't believe, want to see it either. So we'll work in a very bipartisan way. I believe not to have a shutdown. We don't want a shutdown. And just yesterday, the S&P 500 hit 7,000 for the first time ever. There's never been any time at which it's done like that. And the other stocks also, I think it was 52 times for the Dow, had hit a record high. But the 7,000 was not a number that was even thinkable if you go back a year ago. So S&P hit 7,000 for the first time ever. The stock market has set, it's actually 52, 53 all-time record highs since the election, adding $9 trillion in value to savings, retirement accounts, and 401ks. And I mean, everybody benefits, but we have record stock markets. Companies have never done well. And most importantly, if you think about it, after 4 years in which Biden got much less than $1 trillion of investment into our country, in just actually it was taken over 11 months, even though we're 12 months. In 11 months, we've taken in more than $18 trillion. So they did less than $1 trillion, Scott, in a period of 4 years. And we've done $18 trillion in less than 1 year. So there's never been anything like that. No other country has done those numbers, by the way, in history. 10 years ago, one country did $3 trillion. No other. We did $18 trillion. Is being invested now. Thousands of businesses, plants, equipment all over the country are being built right now. And they're going to be opening pretty soon. And when they open, you'll see numbers like nobody's ever seen before. The economy is doing amazingly well. I wish the press would report it, but people are finding out. They're seeing it. It's coming. It's becoming pretty evident. It's hard to hide. Biden inflation, which is really stagflation, cost the typical family $34,000. Think of that, $34,000. But after 1 year, growth in real incomes is outpacing inflation by more than $3,000 under Trump. So one cost $34,000 and one made $3,000. That's a big swing. Gasoline has plunged to, think of this, over $4 a gallon, depending on where you are. In California, it's $7, $8 a gallon. I was in Iowa, and they had $1.85 because I had it at $1.99 a gallon. And I was corrected by two farmers that said, I just bought my gasoline for $1.85. So, Chris, you have to be doing something right, you and Doug, right? But I don't want to give you too much confidence. You got to keep it going. We're drilling, I think I can say we're drilling more than at any time ever in the history. We're taking out more energy out of our land, but specifically, if you look at oil and gas, we've never been anywhere even close. Is that a correct statement?
That is correct. All-time records.
Yeah, great. It's a great job. Well, it's supply and demand. So that's going down rapidly. And, you know, when energy goes down, everything else goes down. They tried to do their thing. It was a disaster. Then they ran back very late to the Trump policy, but they didn't do the Trump policy. They cut leases. They did everything that they could do, but they lost it. And they were very high. And we're now less than $2 in many areas, $2.30 a gallon average. Grocery prices, airfares, hotels, car payments, and rent prices are coming down very fast. And you don't hear the word affordability issued by the Democrats anymore. Now they're going into other things because they're getting beaten badly on affordability. Remember that when I was elected, I came into office, I inherited a total mess, starting with eggs, which were 4 times higher than they were just a year before. And Brooke got them down very quickly before Easter. They said they wanted me to buy plastic eggs for the egg hunt, at the very famous egg hunt at the White House. Sir, would you buy plastic eggs? And we buy a lot of like 100,000 eggs. I said, we're not going to buy plastic eggs. And by the time we had the egg hunt, a few months later, we had the prices down pretty good. And now they're really low. Now they're at a very low level. So we really have, you don't hear the word affordability because we inherited very high prices and we inherited the highest inflation in 48 years. I say the history of our country. I think it sounds almost the same. Actually, I think 48 years sounds actually worse for some reason. So I'll go with the 40 because the press corrected me. I said history and they said, it's not history, it's 48 years. I said, I'll accept that. And we had the highest inflation in 48 years. We have now as you saw yesterday with the Fed, I'm not a fan of his. He said that inflation essentially is not a factor. It's really been pretty amazing. I just put out a statement about his statements. I won't repeat them here because they're too angry. And thanks to our tax cuts, millions of Americans will soon receive record-setting tax refunds. You're going to get a lot of tax refunds, with the average refund expected to be over $1,000 higher than it has been at any time. So we're going to be getting some pretty good refunds, a lot of people. if congressional Democrats had their way, Americans would right now be facing the largest tax hike ever. You know, their proposal was to raise taxes very substantially. And our proposal, which is in the great, big, beautiful New Deal, it's a New Deal in its own way. It's a Republican version of the New Deal. Right behind you is a nice picture of FDR. This is a much better deal than the FDR deal. But we have the great, big, beautiful bill, and it's given tremendous tax cuts and a lot of other things. People are now finding out how good it is, and it's just kicked in as of January 1st, by the way. So we're really starting to see it. Even though it's a month, we're really starting to see it. The U.S. economy would be cratering if they had won this election. Our country would be in very bad shape. Would be maybe not much of a country anymore. I don't think it would be a country anymore. They were doing everything wrong, but they were going to give you the largest tax hike in history, and we're giving you the largest tax cut in history in the great, big, beautiful bill. In addition, I think it's very good. I think it's very important. You have no tax on overtime, no tax on tips, and no tax on Social Security. But you also have, you're getting this is the first time this ever happened. If you buy a car, you go out and borrow money, you get an interest deduction. You take the interest rate, the interest that you're paying on the loan, you're able to deduct it for income tax purposes. So that's a first ever. And I think it's going to be great for everybody, including the car companies. I was in Detroit 3 weeks ago. I went to the Ford factory, spoke to the General Motors people. It's all the same. They're doing better than they've ever done. The factory I went to was like a World War I, earlier than World War I factory, opened up. One of the oldest buildings, but one of the biggest. And Ford was getting ready to close it a couple of years ago. And then they saw that I was doing well, and it looked like I would have a good chance of winning. And they kept it going, barely going. And last week they announced, during my visit, they announced that they're going to round the clock production. They never thought it was. I said, did you ever think? I spoke with Bill Ford and the president of Ford. They were both there, and they said, we can't even believe it. We were going to close this building 2 years ago, and now it's going round the clock. They said, we cannot. I mean, they said, we wish it was twice the size, but they're now building additional plants in the United States, as is everybody else. You have AI building, but the car companies, I love the car companies, and you have them. They're all coming back. They're coming back from Mexico. They're coming back from Canada. They're coming back from Japan. And they're coming back from Germany, all over Europe. They're coming back. They're building here because they want to avoid the tariffs. They don't want to pay the 15%, in some cases 25% tariff. Could be a lot higher than that if it wasn't working. So because of that, they're all coming back. One statistic yesterday that Scott told me is that for the first time ever, tell them about the steel in Japan, that we are now making more steel. Go ahead, please.
So yesterday they reported for the first time in 26 years, the United States of America produced more steel than Japan. And that is entirely driven by your tariffs.
Amazing. Or think of it. He obviously said that much better than I did because I got no applause. And I'm giving you a home run after home run. He says one thing and everybody. I should have saved that one for myself. No, but think of it. First time, and they read almost 30 years, but I guess it's 26, 27 years that we are now producing more steel than Japan. Japan being a big steel producer. Japan and other countries really took our steel production away from us. Now, if you think of this, 3-4 years ago, the steel companies were all closing up. We worked a fantastic deal with U.S. Steel. We saved U.S. Steel. And now it's all coming about. But and that's just the beginning. There are a lot of steel plants right now being built. So that's an amazing number. Nobody would have believed that. If you would have said that 3, 4, 5 years ago, people would have said, yeah, it's not a true fact. But so it has to be true because otherwise you question me on everything. I have to be extremely accurate. I don't exaggerate it. I don't want to exaggerate because you will call me. You don't call other people, but you would call me under my most favored nation spot, which I think is the most important thing, Bobby, of all. what we've done, because we're bringing drug prices down by 80, 90%, depending on the way. You could say 5, 6, 7, 800%. Depends on the way you want to calculate it, right? But let's go the old-fashioned way. But drug prices for prescription drugs will be down 80, 90%, 75%, 68%. They've only gone up for years and years and years. They've only gone up. And now we're going to have essentially the most favored nation. We're going to have the most favored price in the whole world. Whatever the lowest price in the world is, that's what we're going to pay. And I don't want to go into a big deal, but nobody else could have gotten this but this administration. I'm being very nice when I say that. The cost of prescription drugs is coming down by a number that was never even thought of. This will have a huge impact on healthcare, by the way, because obviously drugs are a big part of healthcare, and it will help repair some of the Unaffordable Care Act's damage that they've done, because the Unaffordable Care Act, which is Obamacare, it's unaffordable. It's not affordable, and it's a disaster. And hopefully we will be paying money directly to the people instead of giving the insurance companies the money. They'll go into a healthcare savings account or whatever it is. But think of it. We pay the money, billions and billions, really trillions of dollars going to insurance companies. We want that money to go to the people. They buy their own healthcare. And it's so popular. The problem we have is the Democrats are owned by the insurance companies. They're literally owned lock, stock, and barrel by the insurance companies. And they hate it. But the people love it, including all Democrats. So I think we'll perhaps be successful with it. But it was an idea I had. I read the papers, and I'm reading one of the stories about the insurance companies, how much money they're making, where they received, billions and billions of dollars for this stuff from the United States of America, and their stock has gone up by 1,400%. Think of it, 1,400. One went up 1,700%. Numbers went up. If you go up 1,000%, you're doing bad in that business, right? And it's all because of the money. Not all, but mostly because of the money the United States pays the insurance companies. They say, this is big stuff. And I asked somebody, why don't we just pay the people directly? And they said, that's a good idea. It's funny. It's a very complicated business, but actually it's not so complicated. And I went to Bobby and I went to Dr. Oz. I said, can I talk to you guys about this? Is this the kind of money the insurance companies get? Yes. Why don't we pay the people directly? And the primary answer was that the Democrats will never go along with it, but the people go along with it, because I put it out. It went viral. Susie, I went all over the place. It became the biggest story. I just said it. And so I think we have a great situation if we can do it. But if you think most favored nation policy for drugs will bring you drug prices down at levels. So now if they're selling a pill for $10 in London and $130 in New York, the London price will go up to $20 and we'll go down to $20. So we'll go from 130 down to 20. And by the way, tariffs did it again, because the drug company said, we'll do it begrudgingly, but they were okay. But we'll do it, but no nation's going to approve it, because even if you raise the price by, like on a pill, $10 to $20, you're doubling the price of their prescription drugs. I said, no, they'll do it. And when I got them on the phone, I said, if you don't do it, we're going to charge you very substantial tariffs, more money than that's going to cost you. And they said, we'll do it. And before, I don't know that any other president even tried to do it. We can't find it. But if they did try, they wouldn't have gotten through the companies. They wouldn't have gotten through the company, and then they wouldn't have gotten through the country. I spoke with Macron. He was the first one. He was not at that time wearing sunglasses. And he says, no, Donald, I will not do this. I will not. I won't even consider. You're asking me to double the price. I said, you have no choice. You have to do it, because you guys have been ripping us off. In other words, the whole world, we've been subsidizing the whole world on drug costs. That's why they were $10 and we'd be at 130. As an example, there were many examples. I could give you examples even worse. He said, no, I will not do that. And I said, yes, you will. 100% you'll do it. He said, no, I won't do that, Donald. You're asking me to double the cost of our prescription. We will not do that. I said, look, you've been ripping us off now for decades. We're not going to do it anymore. You can do it under Biden and Obama and other people. You're not going to do it under us. We won't do it. I said, well, if you don't do it, I'm going to charge you a 25% tariff on all of your wine, champagne, and everything else you sell into the United States. He said, like I said, I will do it. And that was the end of the conversation, right? That was the end of the conversation. So now we have favored nations that everybody said would be impossible to get. And I then had the same conversation with 15 other countries. Every one of them agreed. After a short conference, they all said no. And then within a matter of seconds, they said, we would be very happy to do that. Thank you for asking in such a nice way. And it's a great achievement. I think it's going to be one of the best achievements we've had in this country in a long time. So we're going to be knocking drug prices down at levels never seen before. I want to thank the drug companies because once they agreed, they really did. They felt it was very unfair. One of them told me it's actually a relief to agree because this has been just a rough thing for me, to justify, because they couldn't justify it. I said, how come in London I can buy something for $10 and in New York I have to pay $130? And they go, well, it's research and development. I said, yeah, but you have research and development from them. Made in the same factory, made in everything. This is where my friend, who's very successful, I told you, a seriously overweight person, he takes the fat pill or the fat shot. And he was in London and he said, costs $87 there, costs $1,300 in New York. What's going on? He called me up. And I knew that, but he put it in a very blunt way. I've known him a long time. He's a crude individual, but smart as hell, made a lot of money. But he just thought it was sort of ridiculous. He happened to be in London and he got the shot, Ozempic, I think, or one of them. And I told him it wasn't working. For him, it didn't work. But he brought up a good point. It didn't work. I told him, he knows who I'm talking about. He's going crazy. He begs me not to mention.
He's not talking about me, ladies.
It's not our great vice president. No, but he begs me not to mention his name because he's become very famous without mentioning his name. And he is actually a very well-known business person. But he did make a point. But I knew the point very well. We were always paying far more than any other nation. We were subsidizing the world. Right now, there's no more of that. So we're going to be bringing the drug prices down at numbers never seen before. It's going to have a huge impact, positive impact on healthcare. So with that, we are going to ask a couple of people to say a few words. And we're not going to go through the whole table because the last time we had a press conference, it lasted for 3 hours. And some people said he closed his eyes. Look, it got pretty boring. In all fairness, I love these people. But there's a lot of people. It was a little bit on the boring side. But I didn't sleep. I just closed them because I wanted to get the hell out of here. Some of them, I didn't sleep, by the way. I don't sleep much. But, it's funny. Some of them got me in a blink. When you go like, and they took me as at the closed segment of my cycle. And they said he's sleeping. And besides that, Marco, between these two guys, if I was sleeping, they'd be waking me up very fast. They'd be knocking me. Come on, you got to wake up, boss. But no, we've had great meetings. Look, we're the most transparent presidency by far, and I love going around the room. But we're going to pick a few people. I think I would like to ask Steve if he could just give us a brief description of how well we're doing in the Middle East, because we have peace in the Middle East now. There's a couple of little minor flames that we put out very easily. And very importantly, we got our last hostage back, which is incredible. Unfortunately, this was something that nobody said could be done. And I will tell you, Hamas was a big factor in getting all of the hostages back. We were not happy with them, and they had to bring them back. And they found the dead hostages, the bodies of hostages. And those parents wanted their sons back. I think in all cases, sons, but they wanted their sons and their family. They wanted their sons back as much as the people that had living hostages that we got them back to. So we got the 20, but remember, we got hundreds back previous to that. But I always said getting those last 20 back is going to be very tough. And We got them back, and we got all of the bodies back also, which to those parents was just as important as getting back the son that was living. Steve, could you give us a little description, please?
Well, your policy of peace through strength, that's what delivered them home. Without that pressure, it never happens. We are in the second phase now. We've stood up for the first time, Mr. President, on your behalf, a technocratic, all Arab government. We've got the terrorists out of there, and they're going to demilitarize. They will, because they have no choice. So we expect that. Pardon me?
And now we want to get Hamas no guns, right?
Right. They're going to give it up. They're going to give up the AK-47s.
A lot of people said they'll never disarm. Looks like they're going to disarm. And they did help us with those bodies, getting them back.
And that family is so grateful to you. They called. I spoke to them. Jared spoke to them. You know, it's an amazing story. He broke his shoulder, but he went out there because he didn't want his friends to fight alone. He would be alive today, but for that, he had no reason to go out with a broken shoulder, and he went out and fought them courageously.
And died. That's right. This is a great story, and the parents are great. They were the only ones who didn't, they came back pretty rapidly, actually, considering. And we had get some back initially with the initial group. After that, we had to get a lot. That's a tough job. That's a nasty job, too. Who would want that one? That's a nasty job. Between Israel and Hamas working together, if you can believe it, they got them back. And we got the last one back yesterday, and the parents are so happy. It's amazing, actually, how
we sent a message to the parents on your behalf, as you suggested, and they were so grateful.
I guess grateful to me is a much better word, because it's hard to be happy, but they were actually. I mean, they couldn't believe that they had their baby boy. The mother said, my baby boy back. It's a very terrible thing. Steve, Russia, Ukraine, we're making a lot of progress. Could you explain that?
The Ukrainians actually said that we've made more progress since Geneva than they've seen in the last 4 years of that conflict. So we had 5 Russian generals last Sunday in Abu Dhabi with Jared and Dan Driscoll, and we think we made a lot of progress. The talks will continue in about a week, but lots of good things happening between the counterparties discussing the land deal.
Talking together.
We have a security protocol agreement that's largely finished, a prosperity agreement that's largely finished. And I think the people of Ukraine are now hopeful and expectant that we're going to deliver a peace deal sometime soon.
And because of the cold, extreme cold, they have the same that we do. I personally asked President Putin not to fire on Kiev and the cities and towns for a week during this. It's extraordinary. It's not just like cold, it's extraordinary cold, record-setting cold. Over there too, having the same, it's a big pile of bad weather, the worst. But it was, they said they've never experienced cold like that. And I personally asked President Putin not to fire into Kiev and the various towns for a week. And he agreed to do that. And I have to tell you, it was very nice. A lot of people said, don't waste the coal, you're not going to get that. And he did it. And we're very happy that they did it.
That's correct.
Because on top of everything else, that's not what they need is missiles coming into their towns and cities. So I just thought I should say it. I thought it was a very, very good thing. And Ukraine was almost, they didn't believe it, but they were very happy about it because they are struggling badly.
I think it shows, Mr. President, how you provide an overarching sort of presence in these negotiations. The Ukrainians never thought it could happen. The Russians are doing things maybe that people wouldn't give them the credit for doing, and I think it always comes down to your indomitable spirit.
Well, it was a good thing. If you think it's cold over here, they say in Ukraine you can add another 20% to it. It was very cold place anyway, but this was, they see numbers that were they've never seen numbers like that, cold numbers like that. So it was, I thought I should mention it. Could I ask Scott Bessent, we have so many things happening, could I ask you to maybe say a few words, please?
Yes, sir. So the One Big Beautiful Bill that was passed on July 4th last year, we're starting to see the effects kick in. You mentioned the great economy. One of the things in the One Big Beautiful Bill, Mr. President, it was an honor to host you. And as you said, the best rapper in the world, Nicki Minaj, at yesterday's Trump Accounts Summit. We've now had 1 million people sign up for Trump accounts just this week. We think there'll be 25 million families who are eligible. The segment that you and she did has 1 billion hits on the internet. So we're telling everyone, go fill out form 4547, trumpaccount.gov. So thanks to you, the Trump accounts, the next generation's America will benefit from today's record-breaking economy, record-breaking markets. Sir, when we came in, the Biden administration had destroyed the American people with the 3 I's: immigration, inflation, and interest rates. Immigration, check, you close the border. The inflation, as we've heard, back down to target. Prices are coming down, and interest rates, we hope there's more on the way. We've got gains in wages, low prices, and I think 2026 is going to be the year for the Trump boom. It's going to be a supply side boom. I enjoyed the trip out to Iowa. In the diner, the staff there was thanking you for the no tax on tips, and they're expecting big refunds. From that, we saw the CEO of John Deere, who said, thanks to your tariffs, new plants in Indiana and North Carolina
Two massive plants being built by John Deere. And he's the chairman and CEO, wonderful guy. And I said he was at the event we had in Iowa, which is appropriate, John Deere, Iowa. But I said to him, so what are you doing? He said, we just announced 2 massive plants. In fact, they're going to have 1 plant for excavators. And he said, there hasn't been an excavator built in this country in 50 years or something. He said, they're taking it out of Japan and they're moving it into the United States. 2 very big plants. And I said, so why are you doing it? He said, because of you and because of tariffs. I said, if we didn't have tariffs, would you be doing it? He said, absolutely not. So it's very important. And I hope we're going to be successful with the Supreme Court case because we're waiting and we're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars and we don't want to give it back, number one. And number two, and the people that are fighting us on that case, by the way, are China-centric. These are people that are China, but they're also outside of the United States. These are countries that have ripped us off for years and years, charging us tariffs. And now we're doing an amazing job and we're getting it back. We're getting it all back and then some. And they're the ones that are leading that lawsuit that we have in front of the United States Supreme Court. So it's a very important lawsuit for our country. And hopefully it's going to work out. We're waiting a long time, but hopefully it's going to work out. We've taken in hundreds of billions, even trillions of dollars. And certainly we've taken in trillions of dollars of, a big part of that $18 trillion that's coming in is because of tariffs. They're coming in, they're building because they don't want to pay the tariff. And the tariffs are very, steep. They could be much steeper. You probably saw I put out a truth today, and the tariffs could be much steeper. We've been actually very nice about it. But even being nice about it, we've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars. And honestly, they've given us tremendous national security. The power that we have because of that. They have given us tremendous strength and national security. Go ahead, Stephen.
Yes, sir. And the IEPA power you used on the tariffs, as you said, we're bringing in tens of trillions of investments. The tens of trillions of investments turns into factories construction, which turns into factory jobs, which turns into consumer spending. You've right-sized the government. So government employment is down. Private sector is up. Growth was a stunning 4.7, 4.8% in the past 2 quarters. Biggest back-to-back gains in a decade. And we are doing that with government finances improving. So that will bring down the borrowing costs, the calendar year budget for 2024, 7% deficit to GDP, highest when we weren't at war, not in a recession. all the way down to 5.4% and getting better. Biggest decline since 2014. Generational gains in productivity, soaring productivity. We're going to lift workers' pay, record high prices, record high profits, and stock prices are soaring. You got a manufacturing renaissance, and all the key inflation metrics are trending lower. Over the past 3 months, the consumer price index is just 2.1, and core prices are even lower at 1.6. And I think that could trend below 1, given energy, as you talked about, the pharmaceutical discounts, and rents. So we're expecting a great year in 2026, Mr. President.
And we're going to be announcing next week, I think sometime, Scott and Howard and everybody, we're going to be announcing the head of the Fed, who that will be. And it'll be a person that will, I think, do a good job. We're paying far too much interest in the Fed. The Fed rate's too high, unacceptably high. We should have the lowest. And I think you read my statement today. I put out a statement before the meeting, but we should have the lowest interest rate anywhere in the world, because a lot of these countries are successful only because of us, because we allow them to have surpluses. And without surpluses, some of the countries that you most respect financially, that you say, oh, this one, that one, this one, that one, they're successful because we allow them to have surpluses. And we could easily stop that with the powers that we have, but we don't. We took some of it, but we took really just a small portion of it compared to what we could take if we wanted to. We should have the lowest interest rate anywhere in the world. They should be 2 points and even 3 points lower. And if it was, each point is the equivalent of, I would say, $500 billion. So if you got 2 points low, you have $1 trillion in saving. And it's almost, if you call it just a paper expense, you can do it with a pencil. It's not cutting. It's not saying we have to get rid of jobs, or it's just like literally so easy to do. But we have a guy that doesn't want to do it because he's, I think he's politically biased. I really do. I believe he's politically biased because most smart people say it's not even a question. But despite that, we were able to bust through. It was like busting through a wall. We're able to bust through a wall, and we have the kind of numbers that Scott and Howard with the steel and other things talk about. What would you say, Howard, in terms of how we're doing, generally speaking? Great businessman, very successful guy. He's doing a really good job. What would you say?
Well, no one, before you walked in the door, no one thought our economy could grow 2%. Fourth quarter with the shutdown, 5.5%. And that means the first quarter, you could see the United States of America with its $30 trillion economy grow in the 6% range. And no one thought that was possible. That's how you get jobs. That's how you get money down. That's how you fix the deficit. You are fixing everything with your policies. You've changed America and created the golden age.
Thank you. And with the help of the Fed, because we really, we want help, not hindrance. Why would the Fed hinder? But with the help of the Fed, with the right choice, if we make the right choice, a lot of times you make a choice, you think it's good, and it turns out to be not good. But with the help of the Fed, we could hit numbers that have never been hit before. We could hit 8, 9, 10. There's no reason why not. And, I talk about, if you go back 20 years, 25 years, I'm old enough to remember, when we had good news, when you announced good news, the stock market went up. You announce anything good, the stock market went up. You announce bad, the stock market went up. And that's the way it should be. But now it's over the last 15 or so years. If you announce good news, that means they're going to raise interest rates because they want to kill it. So you can never really be that successful because you announce all record numbers, great, because they're afraid of inflation. But growth doesn't have to have any impact on inflation. It can make inflation go down in many cases. So, and you've seen that with us. I mean, we're growing at a much faster rate than anybody thought was possible. We have very controllable inflation. With Biden, we were getting killed, and we had the worst inflation in 48 years in history, in the history of our country. And that's with going down. So growth is a great thing. It doesn't mean inflation. And I want to go back to a system where when we announce good news, they say that's great. We can lower interest rates instead of raise interest. And by the way, if inflation comes, we'll take care of it when it comes. But, they're trying to guess it, and they're trying to get it 10 years before in advance. And, you know, we want to make this country greater than ever before. And I think we're doing that. But we want to make it that when we announce great news, everything goes up. If we announce bad news, that happens too. We bring it down and we control and we do what we have to do. But we can have numbers in the upside like nobody's ever seen before. I want to ask Bobby to say a few words, if you would, about some of the incredible things that we've been doing in your department with Oz and everybody else.
Mr. President, we're in the process of implementing your great healthcare bill, which is going to increase affordability, drive down costs, and increase the quality of healthcare for every American. You mentioned MFN, Most Favored Nation. We now have agreements with 16 of the 17 drug companies. And you asked us to do something, you know, Clinton had promised to do this, Biden had promised to do this, Obama, Bush had all promised to do it. None of them succeeded. It was regarded as impossible, and you made it 10 times harder. As you said, not only do I want MFN, but I want them to all reshore their production to this country. And they don't have any money to do it because we've taken it all from them. And I want to make sure we continue to lead the world in innovation. We succeeded in all of those goals. And the proof that we did that is after we signed those agreements, the stock prices for those companies went up $1.3 trillion.
Amazing.
And they are reshoring. Eli Lilly is building 6 new plants, including an API plant. So the next time that we have a pandemic in this country, we're not going to be stuck buying API from China, who cuts us off. We're going to be able to make it right here. Novo Nordisk is building 4 new plants, and we are going to be releasing Trump RX so that every American can get the lowest prices in the developed world. In some cases, they're going to be lower than the lowest prices in the developed world. And that's going to be happening sometime probably in the next 10 days. So we're doing rural health care. We sent out $10 billion last week. The states have that money. They're going to be giving it to rural hospitals sometimes in the next 2 weeks. And we're going to revolutionize rural health care in this country. You are raising the influx of federal dollars to rural health care by 30% over the next 5 years. So 30% every year, more dollars, federal dollars, are going to be flowing to them. It's going to allow them to rebuild their decaying infrastructure, to retain providers, and also to revolutionize the use of AI and other technologies, which is going to dramatically lower the prices for rural Americans and raise the quality of their health care. Brooke and I released the dietary guidelines, which have been received incredible acclamation from both sides of the aisle. We are going to change the food culture in this country. Brooke gives away $405 million a day to buy food for Americans. And the WIC program, the Head Start program, SNAP, school lunches, the VA, and the military, they're now going to be getting real food for the first time. And Brooke came up with the ingenious idea of requiring every store in this country that accepts food stamps to double the amount of real food that they're selling. And this is going to drive changes in the market. And it's going to lower the cost of meats, of proteins, of whole grains, of fruits and vegetables, so that every American will have in their reach an affordable meal that actually is real food. 70% of American kids now are, 70% of the diet of American kids is now ultra-processed foods. That's why we're spending $5 trillion in treating chronic disease in this country every year. We are attacking fraud. We have Oz finding hundreds of billions of dollars of Medicaid, Medicare fraud in states like Minnesota and California, and we are clawing back that money. We also accomplished something that every American has promised, which is prior authorization. Now we have 80% of the insurance industry that has agreed to eliminate prior authorization in almost all of their procedures. So that this is going to dramatically change the experience of every American with the healthcare system. When you go to your doctor at your point of care, before you leave that office, you will know whether the insurance company is going to pay for the procedure or not. And that is going to, as I said, change the experience. We're also doing price transparency, which you asked during your first term. It never got implemented because the Biden administration never enforced it. We brought more enforcement actions against hospitals than in this 1 year, and the Biden administration bought in 4 years, and we're doing a crackdown so that every American, when you go to a restaurant, you look at the prices before you buy the meal. You ought to be able to do that when you go to a hospital, and by the time that we leave office, every American is going to have that guarantee. We're doing a lot of other stuff, but we were told to keep it short. So.
And the autism that's moving along, really.
We've commissioned now dozens of studies, maybe over 100, and we are going to get those done for you.
Good. That's so important. Also, Eli Lilly, Merck, Pfizer, every drug company, they're spending trillions of dollars right now, as we speak, building plants in the United States because they want to be able to save a lot of money on tariffs. It'll be hundreds of percent, 100%, 200%, 300% in 2 or 3 years from now. So I said, you better have your plant built because in 2 years from now, before I leave office, it'll be a sad day, very sad day for me. But before I leave, every one of these plants better be built because you're going to be paying 300% tariffs. And they're all building their little hearts out. I spoke with the head of Eli Lilly, who's a fantastic guy, a star, actually. He's a star, very smart. And he told me he's building 6 plants in the United States, big ones, in locations that I know very well, but all over the country. Merck is building, and Pfizer's building, and every one of them's building, and foreign companies are building. So it's an amazing thing that's happening, and you're doing a fantastic job. I read an article today where they think Bobby is going to be really great for the Republican Party in the midterms. So I have to be very careful that Bobby likes us. But we'll let you do your job, right?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. You're doing a great job. You and Oz and the whole group. They're doing it.
Marty McCary has done an incredible job at FDA.
That's true.
Last month, we approved more gene and cell therapies than any time in history. And we're making this a safe and productive and encouraging ecosystem for biotech so that China does not steal that industry from us.
Fantastic. I'm going to ask Scott Turner to speak really quickly about housing because, in my opinion, I have very strong opinions on housing. That's what I did for a long time. I did good with it. But, we got to get interest rates down even lower. They are now pretty low, but we got to get them lower. And I'm a big factor. To me, the biggest factor is interest rates for housing. Only in that, you have a lot of people that have become wealthy in the last year because the house value has gone up. And, when you get the housing, when you make it too easy and too cheap to buy houses, those values come down. I don't want those values to come down. We have millions of people that own houses. And for the first time in their life, they're wealthy because the house is worth $500,000 or $600,000 or more or less, but more money than it's ever been worth before. I don't want to do anything to knock that down. And so I want to be very careful with this. You make housing, I can turn on housing immediately, but you make it too easy and you're going to knock the value down of people that own houses. I want to, for those people, those millions of people that own houses, we're going to drive those values up, but we're also going to try making it easier for people to buy. The best thing that can happen for both groups of people is lower interest rates, and those interest rates are coming down. And with a proper, intelligent person at the Fed, that person will be able to work with us to get interest rates down. That covers all of the sins. It covers everything. Lower interest rates keeps the values up for the people that have housing and lets other people buy housing. And Scott, if you could just expand quickly on that.
Yes, sir. You did allude to when we first came in, sir, our fiscal house in America was a mess. But because of your economic policies, the economy is thriving. And I do have some good news to share. As you said, good news. I hope this will make the interest rates continue to go down. But because of your policies, sir, home sales in December, they rose sharply to their strongest pace in 3 years. A lot of people, when we first came in particular young people, were concerned and asking the question whether they would ever be able to afford to buy a house in America. which is the American dream. The 30-year fixed mortgage rate dipped to a multi-year lows, driving monthly payments down for the 2 years at the lowest levels. So more people can get a mortgage now. More families can be able to afford to get a home and achieve the American dream. At HUD last year, we helped and supported over 1 million people through FHA and Ginnie Mae to be able to buy a home. 500,000 of those were first-time home buyers, and hundreds of thousands of our veterans we supported. And so that's good news that millions of people in our country are now beginning to buy homes. We also, sir, saw that you are, and we're working with you, making bold action to ban institutional investors from buying single-family homes. Those homes are for the American people. So, sir, thank you for your leadership on that. Also working with Director Pulte over at FHFA to buy $200 billion worth of mortgage-backed securities, driving down even more the cost to get a home. And so we're grateful for those actions. Also, the One Big Beautiful Bill has been tremendous, making the low-income tax credit increase, working with Secretary Bessent at Treasury to produce more projects and more homes in America. And the One Big Beautiful Bill also made our beloved opportunity zones permanent. And the media doesn't talk about opportunity zones very much, but I'll do it today because I know that they have been transformative in our country. Over 1 million people lifted out of poverty, sir, in opportunity zones, 300,000 new units of housing in opportunity zones, and a 3.4 increase in the value of houses.
And by the way, we have to give him credit. Senator, he's a great guy. Tim Scott came to see me, first administration, first term, and he had this idea for opportunity zones. And he gave me the idea. We did it. We implemented it. It's one of the most successful programs in the history of our country, and nobody talks about it. The press doesn't talk about it, but I want to just tell you, Tim Scott, Senator, South Carolina, did a great job, right?
Did a wonderful job, yes, sir.
Did a good job. He's a good man.
Yes, sir. And so those have been made permanent now. Will help millions of Americans to be able to afford to buy homes. Also, the One Big Beautiful Bill has been allowing HUD to make sure, working with Department of Homeland Security, that every person that lives in HUD-funded housing is an American citizen. A blind eye has been turned prior to us being here to people living in HUD-funded housing, but no more. We're going to take account and transparency to make sure. And so there's a lot of crime that goes on in public housing, but we're coming after the criminals and making sure that everybody in there is an American citizen. So thank you for your support. We are now have taken possession of our new building in Alexandria, and we're going to save the American taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars. So, sir, thank you for your support and your leadership.
Thank you, Scott. Great job. Appreciate it. One of the things Scott said, though, is, again, existing housing, people that own their homes, we're going to keep them wealthy. We're going to keep those prices up. We're not going to destroy the value of their homes so that somebody that didn't work very hard can buy a home. We're going to make it easier to buy. We're going to get interest rates down. But I want to protect the people that for the first time in their lives feel good about themselves. They feel like they've, that they're wealthy people. And I want them to understand it. There's so much talk about, we're going to drive housing prices down. I don't want to drive housing prices down. I want to drive housing prices up for people that own their homes. And they can be assured that's what's going to happen. Chris, could you say a few words about energy, please?
You bet, Mr. President. I can say with confidence that your energy dominance agenda is firing on all cylinders. United States oil production today is greater than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined, the number 2 and number 3 producers. Our natural gas production today is greater than Russia, China, and Iran combined, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th largest natural gas producers. Huge production in the United States. Secretary Burgum at the Interior Department has taken in more money on oil and gas lease sales in the first year of this administration than the entire 4 years of the Biden administration. And beyond oil and gas, 6 new coal leases under this first year of this administration from the Interior Department, and coal production is growing again in the United States after years of decline. And this beautiful clean coal was the MVP of the huge cold snap we're in right now. I can say with some confidence, hundreds of American lives have been saved because of your leaning in and stopping the killing of coal and revitalizing coal. Coal, over the last few days, where we're at peak demand in electricity, has delivered 20 times more electricity than solar and batteries. Think about that, 20 times more. An industry
Because coal doesn't mind very cold weather. Right? You're not allowed to say the word coal without proceeding by saying clean, beautiful coal. Clean, beautiful coal. It's not affected by bad weather. Rain, snow, sleet, freezing cold. How does it react under freezing cold weather?
it steps up and delivers big time. In fact, what coal did during this storm was deliver massively more electricity than it was delivering a month ago, because we needed far more electricity. Who can step up?
The windmills, by the way, are all frozen. You know that they don't turn. The windmills aren't turning. The windmills that these fools paid for. The fool is this country, because the people that have the windmills get massive subsidy, and they make a fortune on windmills that don't even work, and they don't produce anywhere near what they should be. And it's the worst, most expensive form of energy there is. And by the way, Europe is destroying itself with the stupid windmills they're putting all over their beautiful areas of most magnificent landscapes in the world, and they're just destroying. Europe better get smart. Between immigration and energy, they're destroying. It's not recognizable. They've got to smarten up before it's too late. Please go ahead.
Yeah, in New England, with somewhat European energy policies, at peak demand time, very cold in New England, wind, solar, and batteries that you were just speaking of delivered less than 3% of the electricity needed at peak demand time. And that's when it matters. Because if electricity goes out when it's very cold, people die. Over 200 people died in a smaller cold snap during the Biden administration. This was massively larger geographically. We've had no failure of the electricity grid, no failure of long distance transmission lines. Local distribution lines have iced up and come down, and we have people from all over the country working to get those back up because people need their lights back on. But your energy policies delivered just a dramatically different outcome for the American people. If we'd continued the Biden era policies for one more year, continued to shut down coal plants, continued these crazy climate restrictions that wouldn't even let power plants run at maximum demand time, we hadn't liberated all the backup generators that are sitting there. We gave up an emergency approval,
So a lot of
run
those
everything.
plants that we're going to close, coal plants that were modern and good and threw up very little problem, and that were really powerful. You know, by the way, China does most of everything they're doing with coal. Not that we want to copy anybody, but you know, they make the windmills, but they don't have a lot of wind farms. That's somebody ought to look at that. How many wind farms do they have? Very, very few. They make them, they sell them, they make a fortune, but they don't use them. So the coal, I mean, I understand they're using it also as a great backup. So you build a plant, but they have it as a backup in case of tragedy, in case of really bad weather, et cetera, et cetera. They actually store coal on the site of other plants so that if they need emergency energy, the coal is always going to be there, whereas other things aren't. Is that correct?
Exactly. Coal just stepped up here to 25% of our electricity during this high demand time. Natural gas, coal, and nuclear. They are what run the American electricity grid. The others are ornaments and often expensive
And you
ornaments.
stopped plants from being demolished, right?
17 gigawatts of coal generation plants were slated to close last year that were stopped from being closure by this
And if
administration.
they were closed, we would be really tight on energy.
We would have had significant blackouts at these peak cold times, and extrapolating from the last storm during the Biden administration, I think at least hundreds of deaths. Because in the South, a lot of heating is done with electricity generation. If those grids go down, people die. So these, and when you're going back to the Working Families Tax Cut Act, or the One Big Beautiful Bill, that got rid of $500 billion of subsidies, energy subsidies, that do nothing but make energy more expensive and less reliable. And under this administration, we've spent massively less on energy, and we've delivered massively more on energy. And when you have more energy of lower prices.
It's a fantastic job. You and Doug. Doug said, you got to get this guy, Doug. You got to get this guy, Chris Wright, and get him as soon as you can. I said, but I want you to run energy. He said, well, I'm good at it, but he's better, right? Did you tell me that? So I gave him the land. I gave you the energy, right? And it's a great combination. I mean, they literally have, I said, maybe we'll merge it in some way. They said, we don't have to. We get along. They work They work together, right, with the land. He's got the land and the energy. He's got the knowledge to take it out. It's been a good combination.
This administration, the whole administration, and your leadership has been very focused on energy because we can push down energy prices, we can lower costs on Americans, and we can raise wages by bringing jobs and opportunities here. It is a transformation of American energy. Thanks for your leadership.
He's one of the most respected people in the energy world. And Doug told me about Chris Wright. They said, if you could get him, what he gave up to do this job, you're making a little less money, but that's all right. You don't care. What you're doing is fantastic. But he said he's the best in the world. Other people have told me that. The heads of the biggest companies have told me that. And it's really panning out to be so. We appreciate it very much. It's great. One of the things we're doing with energy, I think that's so important. We have an old grid, been around a long time, and not really, can't be much expanded. It can be fixed up a little bit, but can't be much expanded. And we have some plants that are so big that the grid would never be able to hold it. We're allowing them to build a electric producing plant, mostly electric, but electric, they can use nuclear to do it. They can use oil and gas. They can use coal. They can use whatever they want. I think many are choosing oil and gas because it's there, it's tried, it's true, it's plentiful, it's inexpensive. Some are going nuclear. Some are going both. Many are going all three. But the plants, you read, well, how do we ever fire those plants? Because we need to do this, we need 2 times the electricity we produce in 1 year for the entire country, which is almost hard to believe. These buildings are so big. They're going up now. So I did something that nobody thought was possible. Also, when they build their building, they build their own electric generating plants. And we are seeing some of the most incredible designs you've ever seen. So we don't need the grid. I read an article in the Wall Street Journal saying, oh, we're falling behind China. We're not actually. We're leading everybody because I'm letting them build. The government would never be able to do that. Now, China's a different kind. They build, they do things that you got to hand it to them. President Xi, they build vast amounts of energy. They don't have certain constraints that we have in this country, but we're more than topping them. We're leading China by a lot on AI, and it's primarily because I'm allowing them to build with their plant their own electricity. If they had to rely on the grid, they wouldn't have any power. You wouldn't have any power for anything. And they're building the electricity. And one of the reasons I'm able to do that is we have a very capable man in the room named Lee Zeldin. He may be in the room someplace. Is it his normal place? He's there. He's always there. Most reliable, solid guy. And he's done an amazing job. Could you just explain that? And also, because of the fact he's so good, California has a problem. The hardest permit to get when they lost 25,000 or so houses, which shouldn't have been lost, they should have allowed the water to come down from the Pacific Northwest, which was very plentiful. But they didn't do that. They lost 25,000 houses. Lee and his team gave them the most complicated permit within 20 days. Everybody, every single house that burned down got the federal approval. Unfortunately, it's well over a year. And the state and the city, that's Gavin Newsom, and the city, the mayor, who's grossly incompetent, by the way, they have been unable to give permits. There are like 3 houses being built out of thousands and thousands. They have no permits. So I read about a week ago that it's possible because of what's happened, whether you declare national emergency or something, these people are they're dying to build their house. They want to do something that I could put somebody in charge from the federal government. Congratulations, Lee. And I'm putting Lee Zeldin in charge of getting them their permits, city, federal. You have the federal, you need the city and state. And I hear you have great powers over them if we want, and we're going to give you that power. We've already given you that power. So Lee Zeldin is going to work with the thousands of people that are dying to build their house. And I also recommend one other thing. Give them the house plus a 10% bonus. In other words, you get a bonus, you can build your house 10% larger. They've suffered so greatly. They've waited so long, and they should be given a bonus. So I think, and I've heard this has been done before, they get a 10% bonus. They can build a house that's a little bit larger than what they had before. And I'd like to have you take it over.
Mr. President, your great Secretary of State was looking for another job. So.
I was thinking about him, but he's pretty well booked. I watched him. He did a great job yesterday. But He's a little booked up. Let's go, Lee. Talk.
When, Ms-
No more ideas like that, Lee.
When President Trump came into office, he immediately signed an executive order giving EPA 30 days to complete our phase 1 hazardous material removal so that the Army Corps can come in and complete their phase 2 debris removal. So at first, the response was that that was going to be impossible. Good luck trying to get it done maybe by the summer. But we figured it out because operating at Trump speed, the president was just sworn in. We had to get it done, and we got it done in less than 30 days. The Army Corps then came in and completed the debris removal. So the federal government, while the governor has tried to accuse this president of not focusing with a laser on putting all of the weight of the federal government into getting this done, it happened from the moment he was sworn into office. SBA came in. I think it was about half of the disaster loan money, billions of dollars from last year went towards these residents and businesses. So the full weight of this government. But right after I was sworn in, which was actually a year ago today, my first trip was to East Palestine because the vice president never forgets his home state. The second trip was going to Los Angeles. There were people with contractors all over Palisades and Eaton ready to rebuild right then and there. You're talking about a year ago. And now the frustration, the passion that we all hear from all of these Los Angeles residents. And President Trump, he's made it clear to us that he's heard enough. And the message should be heard loud and clear to that local leadership. They should be motivated listening to this right now. And when this cabinet meeting is over, if it hasn't been done already, is that they need to go into the office where these permits are just laying around, flip over tables if you have to, fire people if you have to, and get all of these approvals done so that people can rebuild their lives. It's been a year, and this president has had enough.
So whatever you can do, that's going to be very important. And it's so sad. Those people, we were there a few days after the fire. You were there with me. We're walking down the streets. The people are devastated. The love that they had for that property was everybody was going to rebuild, and they thought they could do it immediately. They should have. We gave it to them so quickly, but they can't get their permits. They still can't build, and they're losing spirit too. I mean, a lot of people are losing spirit. And the other thing I'd like to talk to you about and other people about that happen to be sitting around the table. They want to build a low-income housing project right in the middle of everything in Palisades. And I'm not going to allow it to happen, okay? I mean, maybe it's politically correct, maybe it's not. I'm not going to let these people destroy the value of their houses. I built a lot of low-income housing. I made a lot of money building low-income housing. I know more about it than anybody. We're not going to allow this guy to build a low-income housing project on top of everything else in the middle of that mess that was created by the fact that they didn't allow water to come down from the Pacific Northwest, okay? And I'd like you to have that stopped and stopped immediately. No financing. That might be you, Scott, because they'll come to you for financing. It's never going to be approved. You would never, but Scott thought it was a horrible thing. So there's going to be no financing for low-income housing. Let the people build their houses, and as fast as you can, help them, help the mayor and help the governor get their permitting done. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Kelly, I think you were just alluded to. Are you helping some of the people out there with loans?
Yes, Mr. President, thanks to your leadership, you also helped put the fires out. Your executive order got water to the scene in your earliest days of your presidency. So you've been there from day one. We've been out there twice now. There had been no changes until your executive order this week that is allowing that permitting to happen quickly. We have 16,000 structures burned. We have put loans out on 12,000 of them for $3.2 billion. More than half of all the disaster money delivered in America went to that area. Now, because of the abject leadership, the failures of Gavin Newsom, they have not been able to rebuild. Because of your leadership, they're going to be able to rebuild. But that's not all you've done.
They'll take the credit for it. Watch. It'll start and they'll take the credit. Look at the great job we did. They would never, it wouldn't get built in 20 years. And it will be destroyed by building low-income housing next to luxury housing. History says that doesn't work too well. Go ahead.
We're going to make sure that doesn't happen, Mr. President.
Please.
But under your leadership, you've ended at least 8 wars, okay? But probably the most important and underreported war that this president ended was Joe Biden and the Democrats' war on Main Street and hardworking families. We've seen it as I've gone across the country this month, 10 different states, and we saw it when we were together in Iowa. Hardworking families, farmers, small businesses expressing gratitude, lined up to thank you. I was out with our great vice president last week in Toledo, Ohio. They are thanking this administration for getting Main Street back. The Trump tax cuts, the tariffs, deregulation, it's all rocket fuel for hardworking families and Main Streets. And I see it whether it's talking about small business expensing, 100% accelerated for Made in America factories, the 20% pass through, but it's also working families where they have expanded child tax credits, increased standard deductions, permanent low income tax rates, health savings accounts, Trump accounts. This president is delivering for Main Street. It's the most underreported story in this country. And I see it in Main Street businesses. All-time small business confidence hit a record under this president last year after the Trump tax cuts. All-time small business formation now at 36 million small businesses and a record $100 billion out from SBA because a record number of people want to invest in this country and hire. And whether I've talked to manufacturers about tariffs, they know that this president is bringing manufacturing back, just like Prince Manufacturing in Macon, Georgia. 500 employees machining parts for our defense, our agriculture, our automotive, our aerospace industry. They're going to hire 500 more people this year because of tariffs, because of the Trump tax cuts, and because of SBA lending. And I see this state after state as I've gone across the country, talked to hundreds of business owners, walked dozens of factory floors. This is not being covered, but it's going on in America. The number one problem is they need skilled workers. This is something I'm working on with Secretary Chavez Reimer. I'm working across the administration to ensure that we empower our small businesses. 98% of our manufacturers meet the small business definition. So Ford has 5,000 small manufacturing suppliers. The $18 trillion you brought in is creating an economic boom like none we've ever seen before. We are going to have 7% GDP growth. GDP now is probably underestimating where it is in 4Q, but with interest rates going down, with regulation going down, these are all taxes on small businesses, and those are going away. And thanks to President Trump, your leadership, we are seeing Main Street boom. Hardworking families have $1,000 already in their pockets. And when they get their $1,000 refund tax, I hope they all remember that every Democrat voted against them getting their tax refunds, because this is what our administration is doing, is powering your incredible economic agenda forward on Main Street.
Thank you very much. Great job. I do want to say that on my left, I have a man who's doing a fantastic job, and on my right also. But we're spending a tremendous amount of time and effort on building our military. We largely rebuilt the military during my first term, fortunately, and we're greatly enhancing it now. We're going to be doing something new. We're bringing back the battleship, and I thought, like you remember the battleships from the great Iowa and Alabama, Missouri, those unbelievable scenes that you see, Victory at Sea. You'd see these incredible ships, and I thought they were powerful, but the battleships that we're building are going to be 100 times more powerful than those beautiful works of art. I mean, they were magnificent, all steel. We have the steel now, and we're going to be doing that as an enhancement. But our military is very strong. You may want to say something about the large fleet of ships that's heading over to the Middle East.
Well, Mr. President, you had to, like so many other cabinet members have referenced, rebuild the perception of America. And at the Department of War, that meant reestablishing deterrence. What happened in Afghanistan, what happened in Ukraine, a war that never would have occurred, what happened on October 7th in Israel, never would have happened under President Trump. So as a result, we're having to rebuild how our enemies perceive us. And when President Trump said, we're not getting a nuclear, Iran, you won't have a nuclear bomb, he meant it. And we sent those B-2s halfway around the world, and they never noticed. When he said, we're not going to tolerate trafficking drugs anymore in our hemisphere, we treat them like the Al-Qaeda of the Western Hemisphere, he meant it, and we're executing that. When you said, Mr. President, we're securing the border, the military was proud to do their part alongside Homeland Security to do that. Same thing with Iran right now, ensuring that they have all the options to make a deal. They should not pursue nuclear capabilities. We will be prepared to deliver whatever this president expects of the War Department, just like we did this month. No other military in the world could have executed the most sophisticated, powerful raid not just in American history, I would say in world history, what those men did going downtown, another country, the most secure place in the most secure base in the middle of the night without anybody knowing until those simultaneous bombs dropped 3 minutes before the helicopters dropped. No other country could coordinate that. No other president would have been willing to empower those warriors that way to be that effective. And that sends a message to every capital around the world that when President Trump speaks, he means business, and we are reestablishing deterrence at the War Department, Mr. President.
Thank you. Great job you're doing. Just to finish up on that, the Somalian pirates over the years have pirated, stolen many ships. They would get large amounts of money for the ship. You know, you have $1 billion ship, and the insurance companies didn't want to fight because, you know, some of those ships are very flammable. They're carrying millions of barrels of oil, very flammable, very dangerous situation if they're shot at. So they wouldn't fight. We notified them a number of months ago. Anybody that does that gets the same treatment as a drug dealer sending their drugs in from Venezuela or anybody else. As you know, it's 97% down by water. So the drugs coming in by sea or by water is down 97%. Now we're also starting, that was the more difficult route. Now we're starting to do that by land also. It will be, you'll see that happen as they come in and kill our people with drugs. I think the real number is 300,000 people a year, not 100, but whatever it is, it's a lot of people, hundreds of thousands of people. They're going to get hit. But also we added to the list the Somalian pirates that go out on a boat, similar type boat, actually not quite as fast, not quite as nice as you can imagine, but they get the same missile that we give to the people that are bringing drugs. And so far, we haven't seen anybody going out. So the traffic is not being interfered with by people pirating our ships, not our ships, ships all over the world. I said, make it for any country. We're doing the rest of the world a favor. It's a very effective favor, but we see very little pirating nowadays. You used to have ships being taken every single, like 2 or 3 a week, these massive ships that be brought in to some place in Somalia, which I don't even know is it a country. We have Ilhan Omar left, and then she gives us lectures on the Constitution of the United States. These people are, what they've done to rip off our country is terrible, but the pirating has essentially stopped. They know that if anybody even makes a move toward a ship, they get the ultimate treatment. They will go to wherever they want to go, but it's probably not going to be to heaven. I can't imagine, but they get hit very hard, just like a drug dealer, just like the boats, the ships that are coming in. Every boat that comes in with drugs on it that we take out, we just saved 25,000 American lives. Each boat is the equivalent of saving 25,000 mostly American, but American lives. So I just wanted to let you know that, and Pete's been totally authorized to do that. And they know it's going to happen. And it seems that all of that brisk business that they had has been stopped in its right in its foot. So I just want to thank everybody for being here. My cabinet has been amazing. I like this much better than going around for 3 hours. We'll pick on other ones. Pam, you're doing great. We're all doing great. JD, if you'd like to say something, you can. Would you like to really quickly? He is, after all, the vice president of the United States.
It's okay, sir. I'm here for the free coffee. I just say it's an honor to serve with this group, and we're doing a lot of good for the American people. We're very proud of it.
Yeah, we're very proud of the country. We're very proud of you. Thank you very much, everybody.
Mr.
Thank you.
Mr. President, why not take questions?
Stop the Fed, Mr. President.
Thank you. Why not take questions? Thank you. Go, start moving. Thank you, press. Keep moving. Thank you.
Rowdy as ever, President Trump. It looks like they are kicking him out. ALX was in the crowd for that, standing there as a reporter for our site. And yeah, it's just really nice to see President Trump. I think that's like just kind of a show of force of Donald Trump saying that everybody's on the same page and everybody is working together. And there's a lot of contention. They're trying to rip the administration apart. They're trying to rip people down. They're trying to separate Donald Trump from his strongest allies inside of the administration. And it's nice to see them pushing back. And this is how you do it, ladies and gentlemen. We are pushing back on the evil in our country by, well, raiding the Georgia Election Board and then delivering a verse of the day every single day for you. Galatians 5:15. Goodness, it's been 3 hours, Klein, that we've been live? Okay, just clicked 3 hours. Goodness gracious. Galatians 5:15. But if you bite and devour one another, watch out, you are not consumed. Watch out that you are not consumed by one another. Effectively, live at peace, right? Do your best to be at peace and to live in peace. And to that order, we were going to be traveling up to DC today for a Melania movie premiere, but there's been so many different travel updates and so many weather problems. We've decided to lock down here in Florida. They're expecting snow in Florida here. So I don't really want to be caught in any of that. So we're going to lock in with our family and just chill out and be at peace, as you say, as the scriptures say here. Ladies and gentlemen, we wish peace upon you. March with us on to victory. That is assured. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
Hey, welcome to my borrowed tree. You will with my borrowed tree. So much democracy when you employer me. You want to win your next election. I can help you win your erection. So much democracy. Put your ballot in. I take your ballot out. I change them to your name. That's what democracy all about. TV screen, stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade with the warrior's heart. This man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade with the warrior's heart. This man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.